remember. On the topic of Israel, friend of the show, Noah Samson,
since I released
has done another video after his previous video of how YouTubers defend genocide. He did another one. The YouTubers who backed the genocide 2 weeks ago with 777,000 views. A lot of those YouTubers have retaliated against Noah, and I guess he has another response. Now, the reason why I'm watching this, while also simultaneously, there is an additional note since this video came out, where Mudahar, one of the YouTubers mentioned in the video, has stated that he intends to sue Noah Samson. This is his statement on the matter. Apparently, Ethan Klein is also choosing to sue Noah Samson as well. In the last couple of weeks, a YouTuber, Noah Samson, has uploaded a few videos labeling me a genocide supporter in the title and thumbnail of the video. Today, me and the team sat down to watch them and could not find a single clip of me supporting the Israeli government or any of its genocidal practice. Normally, I'd not engage with this discourse, but this has affected my business and has bleed into my personal life. As a Muslim, I've always supported my people, and I never talked about this topic with much political knowledge. That said, you don't need to be knowledgeable to stand against the injustices by the IDF. Journalists and civilians have been recently killed in a wave of attacks, ending a short-lived ceasefire. That is never okay and needs to end, and I hope in my lifetime it does. It's really interesting that the first time that Mudahar has come out with like a bold declarative statement singling out Israel for its crimes is after he claims that he was being defamed by Noah. Ironically enough, Noah's argument was not that these people are directly saying that they love Israel doing a genocide, but instead was the fact that while Israel is doing a genocide, a lot of these people have shifted their priority directly to drama slop and to attack people who call out Israel's genocide. And in a way, making tacit endorsements or sometimes direct endorsements like Ethan Klein has, or by omitting the truth, creating a defensive posture against, or creating a defensive posture in support of the Israeli government. Maybe being a useful idiot. Now, from what I understand, here is Ethan Klein. He's gathering evidence for a defamation suit against Noah without having even watched either of his videos. By the way, Lamau, if you guys have any good, potentially defamatory Noah Samson clips, drop them on the subreddit. Free speech lovers galore. Their bar is advocate rather than understanding what manufacturing consent means. Yeah. Anyway, so let's watch, without further ado, Noah Samson's video. The genocide supporting YouTubers responded.
My video, the YouTubers who backed a genocide, there have been some developments. Ethan Klein responded to the video with an Instagram story shortly after its release, where he wrote, "God, these bread tubers are such pathetic fucking rats. When the fuck did I ever support a genocide? I criticize your idol Hasan, and you all resort to straight up character assassination and horrific lies. A campaign which resulted in the CPS call and harassment like I've never experienced in my 15 years on YouTube. Fuck you and fuck your movement. Socialism deserves better representatives." Soon after this post, Ethan brought my video up during his live show where he threatened to sue me.
So this fucking little scumbag here who put me and Mudahar, Turkey Tom, and Destiny in a thumbnail and said the YouTubers who backed a genocide. This is fucking disgusting, and I'm not okay living in this world where these little fucking punk ass scumbags can just say this shit and get away with it. Like accusing people, usually defamation can be all different types of things. Someone supporting genocide, we throw this term around a lot. That's one of the most. I mean, can you say something more fucked up about somebody than that? Sounds pretty defamatory.
Yeah, I think there's a very simple solution to this, right? There's a genocide that is ongoing. If your criticisms during that process is entirely about people who call out this genocide, consistently smearing them as anti-Semites, lying about them over and over again, at a time when the Trump administration also is actively going after people who do criticize people who, Trump administration is actively going after people who do criticize the Israeli government, even deporting them, then yeah, it seems like you're not pro-Palestine at all. It seems like you are running cover. You are playing either inadvertently or directly the role of a soldier in the disinformation war in the Western world against Israel. If the amount of times that you have spoken out against Israel for the heinous, barbaric war crimes that it engages in on a regular basis is much, much, much more limited than the times that you have criticized those who speak out against such atrocities, then you probably aren't the number one advocate for Israel. The number one advocate for Palestinians. Sorry.
And again, I'm not taking any prisoners. If my attorney thinks there's anything in here, if he thinks that there's like a decent shot of defamation, I'm suing this fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. This person has consistently called me a terrorist, an anti-Semite, and a million different things. Like turning around and being like, I'm now going to create a frivolous defamation lawsuit against another YouTuber because I don't like that they recognized all of this and made a YouTube video about it is so funny. Like the hypocrisy is so glaringly obvious. This dude straight up made a context nuke with clips directly cut out of context in an effort to smear myself and others as well for speaking out against Israel. And now he wants to do a fucking shitty defamation suit on a video that he himself did not watch. Because if he had watched that suit, if he had actually watched Noah's video, he would understand the point.
It's a little scumbag.
So he is threatening to sue me for defamation on the grounds that accusing someone of supporting genocide is messed up. I can think of something even more messed up than accusing someone of supporting genocide, which is, actually supporting genocide. I can't imagine that it's pleasant to be confronted with the idea that you might be supporting a genocide, so the instinct here to deflect and deny without even offering any sort of actual defense against the points is an entirely predictable response. This is how the liberal media
also, I do want to say this is a classic conservative move. Like I'm more offended that you're calling me a racist than the actual act of racism that I engaged in and entertain. It's the same shit. That's exactly what's going on here. Oh, dude, what? You called me a racist? How dare you? That's what it is. I think the funniest thing is that you have real grounds for defamation. No, dude. And Ethan knows that he doesn't have real grounds for defamation against Noah either. Okay? Public figures suing one another for defamation is kind of idiotic. I have grounds to sue Destiny and Ethan for defamation. I would never do that in a million years. Okay? Part of the reason why I would never do that in a million years is because what kind of financial damages can I fucking point to? Like, the context nuke flopped just because someone defames you. Like, that's one of the aspects here is just like, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? Since his context nuke didn't fucking work, he's been brigading everything that I've that I've been a part of, literally calling out journalists that have interviewed me even before the video came out. Constantly telling people how do you engage in talks with a person who is like a rape denialist or whatever. I don't know, just ridiculous shit over and over again. Stop saying you won't sue them. Why do you lay yourself fucking prostrate in front of fascists? Because I'm not a bitch. That's number one. And number two is I also understand how defamation suits work. Okay. For the most part, Ethan's lawyers, I think, are just farming him for money by saying, yes, King, there's definitely something we can get out of here. Kind of how Ryan Kavanaugh's lawyers have farmed Ryan Kavanaugh, seemingly. Law student here. The Supreme Court set a very high standard for defamation suits against public figures on matters of public concern. You would have to prove that no statements were made with knowledge of their falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. This actual malice standard is a very high threshold to meet. Yes, law student here is correct. The actual malice standard is a very high threshold to meet, and so any lawsuit is definitely meritless. There also needs to be like what are the material damages that you can show in that situation? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know why Americans love litigation so much. They constantly fucking act like suing someone is a power move. It's not. You're bitch made, okay? Trash Day's not inviting you back. Oxbridge Talk's not coming out. At least a loss of business. Is it a stretch? Trash Day's not inviting me back. Okay, dude. Yeah. I'm going to go to a court and be like, hey, guys, this anime podcast might not invite me back, which they probably will when I go visit Japan anyway, but that's going to be, it's really hitting the bank big time. Oxford, you mean? And the Oxford Talk's not coming out. Has nothing to do with Ethan. What the fuck are you talking about? They knew I was a radical before they invited me, dumbass. That's why they invited me. No, the reason why the Oxford Talks haven't come out is because it's a bunch of students. It's run by a bunch of students. And they're not very good at responding to emails. I like that. Maybe that's why people keep constantly asking me about the Oxford Talk. They think that like it's hidden or something. Like, dude, they had way more controversial back and forth on Oxford. Oxbridge is Oxford and Cambridge. The Cambridge one is out. I filmed it. Anyway, let's continue.
Class will operate in the coming decades when it's time to answer for their crimes of manufacturing consent for a genocide. They will simply say, no, I didn't. If they say anything at all. Most of them won't. It's happened throughout history. It happened with the Vietnam War. It happened with the invasion of Iraq. And it'll happen again with Gaza. What makes Gaza a bit different, though, is that unlike prior US-backed atrocities abroad, we all know what's been happening there the entire time. Israel's genocide of Palestinians in Gaza has been called the first ever live-streamed genocide because we've seen the entire thing as it's happened with high-definition cell phone video. The mass destruction, the ruthless attacks on the healthcare system, the deliberate targeting of men, women, children, medics, aid workers, the intentional starvation used by Israel as a weapon of war, and then the massacres that followed that starvation when Palestinians crowded around aid trucks trying to get what little food Israel...
Yeah, it's ironic because like they do try to get financial damages. They do try to like materially harm me by constantly calling out my sponsors. Yeah, E was the first guy to cry about your Ubisoft sponsor. Now Elon is doing that. Allies in your hatred for you. Yeah. It just hasn't worked. You know what I mean? It just has not worked. So what am I supposed to do? Yeah, they're defaming me. It's true. They are. But what happens when defamation is unsuccessful? You know, what do? Plus, even if it was successful, I still don't care. I just don't care. I don't want to spend any time on this shit. It's not me capitulating to fascists or whatever. I just, you know, I have more important shit to worry about. Okay? Like, what are you talking about?
Was allowing into the Strip the 20,000 slain children, many of them slaughtered with their entire families, the IDF terrorists recording and posting their war crimes, acts of humiliation, degradation, their torture and rape of Palestinians, the full support of Israel throughout all of these atrocities, the vile, dehumanizing racism that is required to uphold a project like this.
I just think we need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it. And if not that, because the country will not let that happen, the government. Just the least we can do is just kick them out of our land. Because this is our home, this is our land, and we deserve it.
What do you think about Palestinians?
That I hate them, and I wish they all died. We didn't stop, and we killed everyone.
You're gonna kill everyone?
Yes, yes!
You guys are animals. You guys are f***ing animal terrorists.
You killed 10,000 kids.
10,000 terrorists that would grow up to be the next. 10,000 kids that would grow up to be the next terrorists.
Really?
Because the first time,
But I'm Palestinian. Does that mean I'm a
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Mm-hmm.
Do you want Palestinians in Gaza to die?
Yes.
All of them?
Yes.
Oh my God.
We've seen all of this, which is why the whole "no, I didn't" defense doesn't hold up because, you know, yes, you did. We have you on video during this genocide that everyone saw, spreading propaganda that's been used to justify that genocide.
It's so vile to deny the suffering and trauma of the victims just because you need your heroes at Hamas to be perfect.
My friends.
Yeah, like, that's the thing that also frustrates me. Like, these guys actively made YouTube videos and, like, shit on people like myself for calling out Israel, or worse, because they didn't even have a position on Israel. Like with Mudahar, I don't think he did it specifically because he wanted to defend Israel. Okay? I don't know what is in his mind and the way that he operates, but I think his reasoning for making that video was unironically to just like farm some fucking ad revenue out of it. You know what I mean? It was just a grift. He openly admits he's not very knowledgeable on the situation and then actively takes a position. And it's so fucking sad. It's so pathetic to do that for clout, dude. Oh my God. The least you could do with a massive platform like you have is to do a little bit more reading on this matter. You know what I mean? Mudahar just wanted to stay with mainstream commentary people that hate you. Exactly. They're all in the fucking group chats with one another alongside Keemstar. They all did that. Like they all actively have done this. So, oh my God, the Assassin's Creed social media account came into the rescue? That's crazy. Okay, this is a sidestep from the issue that we were talking about, but that's so funny. Elon Musk calling me a sellout. Assassin's Creed, is that what the guy playing your Path of Exile 2 account told you? Oh no. Oh my God. Oh my God. W intern, W social media intern. All right, let's continue.
Defeating our brutal enemies requires both courage and clarity. Clarity begins by knowing the difference between good and evil. And these monsters, they rape women, they burn babies alive. Many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. They stand with rapists and murderers.
The Gazan Health Ministry, which, by the way, Gaza Health Ministry is run by Hamas, terrorist organization. I think a lot of people are all too happy to not look too deep into these things. But again, Gaza Health Ministry
is crazy. I'm glad that there is the bottom text here from Noah talking about the Gazan Health Ministry. Its numbers have historically been considered reliable by United Nations, the World Health Organization, and Human Rights Watch in relation to the Israel-Hamas war. 2 letters published in the Lancet Journal did not find evidence of inflation or fabrication of Palestinian casualty numbers. We've talked about this quite a bit at the time when Joe Biden went forward with this gross, egregious, genocide denialist lie. Oh, it's the Hamas Health Ministry. I don't trust their numbers, said the American president at a time when Israel was doing a genocide. After that, every media outlet changed the way that they covered it. They kept repeating it over and over again. This was Israeli propaganda through and through, besmirching the otherwise completely accurate numbers, oftentimes, unironically, an undercount, as a matter of fact, by basically associating it like Hamas-run health ministry. We can't trust it. Okay? Now, what's interesting about this, what's incredibly frustrating about this, this thing that Ethan is going along with, by the way, what's insane about it is that every single party, including the American State Department and the Israeli government, use the Hamas-run health ministry numbers. They always have, and they continue to do so to this day. They simultaneously lied and said, we disparage these numbers. We don't believe these numbers because it's like run by Hamas, but they still use it and they know full well that it's the most accurate assessment you can make. How fucked up is that? How incredible is that? The question remains here for Ethan. Is he stupid or is he lying? Maybe both.
Is Hamas. There was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba.
We have you on video attacking and delegitimizing the only groups in the world militarily resisting that genocide, with arguments plucked directly from the US State Department, the #1 material supporter of the genocide.
Terrorist groups.
We have you on video attacking and delegitimizing the most prominent media figures in the YouTube space who have been advocating against the genocide and breaking down the propaganda used to justify it.
Hassan loves all terrorists.
We have you on video running defense for the primary architects of the genocide.
Just the other day, Bibi fired a really good guy that a lot of people are pissed about, and he fired him because they had a disagreement, and that's like so Trump coded.
He was like a moderating voice in the war room.
Yeah.
Yeah, a complete siege on Gaza. No electricity, no food, no fuel, no water. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we act accordingly. That's what he said. And then he launched a genocide on the Palestinian population as the defense minister. Ironically enough, that statement, alongside many other actions that Yoav Gallant took, led him to be on the arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court. The International Criminal Court's arrest warrant also names him as a war criminal, alongside Benjamin Netanyahu.
We have you on video attempting to portray the perpetrator of that genocide as some kind of beautiful, free, diverse, democratic state.
We're planning to go to Israel in June with my parents and all the kids. It's going to be such a great trip. And I'm actually really excited to go there. I want to show you guys.
You haven't been there in so long.
It's been a long fucking time. What I want to do is show you guys how I see Israel, because you don't see that. When you listen to Hassan and you hear all these fucking mega lefties talking about it like it's some super racist, crazy, like Jim Crow style of society. Like, I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful, how multicultural, how...
Like, this right here is enough. That right there is enough to be like, I'm going to go to the Jim Crow South to show you guys that these fucking wokes are talking about segregation, separate but equal, okay? What is this? I'm going to go to apartheid South Africa to show you guys how multicultural, multi-ethnic apartheid South Africa is. All these freaking wokes who love the terrorists within the ANC are just disparaging the good name of South Africa. It's crazy, dude. What do you mean? You're just straightforwardly doing fucking propaganda here for an apartheid state that is currently conducting a genocide, like your goddamn Michael Rappaport.
Like, free it feels for people, or just it's a beautiful place. It is. It's one of the most diverse places I've ever been.
These people all seem to believe that in order for someone to back a genocide...
It's ironic because he lived in Israel, and from what I understand, he fucking hated it. That's why he moved back to America. He was like, this place fucking sucks. Post October 7, though, now he's like, no, I love Israel. It's actually multicultural. It's fucking amazing.
They need to look into the camera and say, I support genocide. I think it's good. More of that, please. And while we do have examples of certain parties to the conflict here doing just that, like Destiny and Asmongold,
I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people.
I'm pro-genocide. It sounds really shitty, but I think that Israel should just draw up its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place.
The most common and effective way to back a genocide doesn't look like that. Mainstream Western outlets don't say those Palestinian kids deserve to be killed. No, they say that some kids died when bombs dropped, that Israel says it was dropping on Hamas, which is a US designated terrorist organization. The mainstream Western media media doesn't say that there are no innocent civilians in Gaza. They simply quote the death tolls as being reported by the Hamas, aka terrorist-run health ministry, and then report uncritically the IDF saying that most of them are soldiers actually, and soldiers are terrorists by the way, so who's to say what's actually true? The mainstream Western media doesn't say that Yemeni children deserve to die because they're all Houthi terrorists. They simply cite the Houthi-run health ministry, aka terrorist-run health ministry. So when the US and Saudi Arabia kill those children, it's a sad event in the overall morally righteous fight against terrorists. Terrorism is bad, remember, and terrorists are the bad guys. So if some kids died while they were going after terrorists, you know, I guess that's just war. We saw the same response of "no, I didn't" from Mutahar of the large YouTube channel Some Ordinary Gamers. When Hassan Piker shared my video on his Instagram story, Mutahar responded to this post writing, "I get watching other people's videos is all you're really good at, but try vetting out slander before promoting. I have never defended..."
Which is ironic because, like, he's literally slandering me in that process. Like, the notion that I only watch other people's YouTube videos is such a fucking stupid one, especially because every single week I'm either interviewing another journalist, an activist, including the guys that just won an Oscar for No Other Land, or fucking Bernie Sanders and AOC at their rally. Like, these people don't care about anything. That's what's so frustrating about it. Like, you're a fucking slop tuber. Just stick to Linus video, the Linux videos, okay? That's all you got to do. I don't know why you have to, like, enter this territory and then establish your flag as a guy who just, like, hates this fucking Hasan dude. It doesn't make any sense. Dude who's too lazy to fucking take a shower and, like, clean his goddamn t-shirt in his fucking videos. Dude who's too lazy to do any research whatsoever before he just goes, you don't do anything else. I said Linus, sorry. I meant Linux. It's so weird, man. How the fuck did Ethan and a lot of these guys go from, like, being people who care about the truth to this, you know? To whatever the fuck this is.
Or backed the Israeli genocide on innocent Gazans, never will I ever. Following this, there was a bit of a back and forth. Hassan responded to Mutahar on Twitter, writing, "In your only video on Gaza, you admit to not knowing about politics, you try to cover Israel-Palestine as drama slop for a centrist audience, you defend Asmongold for his inferior cultures and genocide comment, then attack pro-Palestinian voices." Mutahar wrote back, "Yes, I do admit to not being an expert on the topic. I didn't cover it as a drama since it isn't one. Serious situations with dead people and attacks happening every day. I just don't downplay rapes and sugarcoat violent organizations like you. Also didn't defend Asman in vid." Later, Hassan wrote, "We were a year into the genocide here. This was your only video on the topic. It downplayed and ran defense for Asmongold's takes, while the bulk of your commentary revolved around how evil the pro-Palestinian streamers were from clips you compiled off of snark Reddits." Mutahar's final response was, "It's almost as if the bulk of the commentary matched what the video was titled and centered about, Twitch allowing violent and unfiltered rhetoric from your camp on its platform. The clips were actually sourced from the creators who streamed them." So what do we make of this exchange? Well, first, Mutahar denied covering the genocide as drama, but that's exactly what he did. He has never once uploaded a video covering this topic, except for when that coverage was filtered through a smear campaign that was making the rounds in the commentary community about a content creator they all don't like. You know, Hassan bad. He denies defending Asmongold in his video, once again making no effort to actually defend himself on that point, but that's also false. Mutahar whitewashed Asmongold's comments further than anyone else, really. He went so far as to change the content of what Asmongold actually said to make it seem like he wasn't talking about Palestinians when he was.
In this situation, one could, if they were to extend the charitability, could say that Asmongold was probably referring to extremists in the Islamic religion.
Even Asmongold himself admitted that that's what he said when he apologized. This is why he was banned. Now, whether Mutahar stands by this characterization of Asmongold's genocidal rhetoric or not is a different question, but he did do that, and the record shows this. His video is still uploaded on his channel. You can go watch it. Denying this seems to be just indicative of a lack of reflection on his part. Entirely predictable, but worth noting nonetheless.
I think a lot of these guys also don't care because they know their audience won't check them and then try to maintain any sort of accountability for false statements. We are now officially living in the post-truth universe. I know it sounds kind of libbed up and silly whenever I say this, but it quite literally is the case. Nobody cares. No one fucking cares about what the truth is. That's precisely the reason why so many people come in here and will hear me advocate for certain things and refuse to listen to my advocacy and still operate on the basis of like what motivated them to come here because they watched a smear video. Like, even when the truth is hitting them directly in the head, they still refuse to grasp it. Absolutely. When I was in that echo chamber, there was just no outside source that could matter or change my opinion on you that I had pre-built. Nothing to do with politics at all. Yeah, that's the other side of it. It is also, once again, poisoning the well. Because they don't want to actually go after the arguments that I'm presenting, they just attack the messenger instead. And they do so by smearing. Like from the silliest things to the most severe allegations that are completely untrue. And also easily dismissible, for the record. And yet, because most people don't care about that context, it doesn't matter. People are just like interested in participating in the smear campaign themselves as they feel as though they're doing something that gives them a sense of purpose and as though they are a part of a community. You know? Is there a way to fix the issue? I don't know, but I won't stop trying to abide by best standards and practices, no matter what other people do. Your only comment about Muda is that he is dirty and does not shower. I'm sick and tired of this anti-Indian racism. Why is your comment for Muda that he does not shower? Come on. Dude, he literally has stains on his shirt. Like while he was doing this video. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, dude, I'm secretly doing anti-Indian racism. That's not my only comment on Mudahar. The fuck are you talking about? Did you not hear half of the commentary from Noah or him literally reading my comments against Mudahar? The fuck are you talking about? This is unironically the example. The example that I was maintaining, like right here. This is it. Guy comes in, doesn't hear a fucking thing I said, immediately grabs on to something and just basically fucking angles it in the most cynical way possible.
Watch it. Denying this seems to be just that, and the record shows Gold's this is why he was banned. Now, whether Mudahar stands by this characterization of Asmongold's genocidal rhetoric or not is a different question, but he did do that, and the record shows this. His video is still uploaded on his channel. You can go watch it. Denying this seems to be just indicative of a lack of reflection on his part. Entirely predictable, but worth noting nonetheless. The "no, I didn't" defense is the expected response from centrists and liberal Zionists alike, but I don't know how well it'll hold up in court. I didn't back genocide. How could you say that? I just sat silently the entire time it happened, except for the one time I spoke up, which was
Didn't Hassan speak out against the racism but let Mudahar to leave Twitter? Of course, dude. Because yes, I think the endless faucet of anti-Indian hatred online that is so super fucking normalized is insane.
Actually to attack pro-Palestine activists with bad faith smears that originate from a community of openly genocidal Zionists.
I'm pro-genocide.
They're terrible people.
Best of luck to you in your legal endeavors should you pursue them. I don't know how well that'll hold up, but have fun, I guess. In his last tweet, Mudahar seems to deny his participation in the smear campaign, writing, "The clips were sourced from the creators who streamed them." This is false. Mudahar did not source these clips from Hassan's stream. He sourced these clips directly from the smear website. He cited the website out loud and said, "Go check it out, guys."
There's a website known as DanClancySucks.com.
That was this was also insane. Insane. Like, he highlighted the fucking shitty ass like smear campaign website. Like, how do you, oh God, how do you fucking live with yourself, dude? Well, it's so gross.
Of some of the most popular streamers on the site. One of the most popular political streamer, Hassan Piker.
As we went over, this website is a compilation of out-of-context clips and arguments attacking pro-Palestine creators that openly embraces the support of genocidal Zionist organizations like the ADL and genocidal Zionist politicians like...
Yeah, also, if you don't know anything about anything, like the Amsterdam quote-unquote pogroms, right? Virtually everyone, including people that were there at the time, including media outlets that ran with the pogrom happening, the anti-Jewish pogroms that were happening, went back and corrected the record because it was a fucking lie. They even literally used footage from an on-the-ground reporter that showed that it was actually the Maccabi football hooligans from Israel that were fighting against the locals there. They were like hunting down locals, and they genuinely presented it as though the situation was the exact opposite. It was that it was actually the local Muslims that were hunting down Jews, right? If you don't know the context of that and you just literally look at this and you listen to the ADL and you go, oh, when one of the largest streamers on Twitch, Hassan Piker, spends the hours after the Amsterdam pogrom minimizing its harm without consequence, it's clear the platform still has far to go. That's it. You're like, oh, I guess this guy's bad. He's a fucking anti-Semite, I guess. That's why so many of the people that fucking come in here and agitate at the behest of these other dumbasses are doing... Sometimes they're fucking pro-Palestinian, literally, but they just are oblivious. They don't know enough. And then the random Jew hunts happened after. No, it didn't. Shut up. Jesus Christ. People still going after fake bullshit, dude. Oh my God. It was fucking football hooligans. What are you talking about? No, the other on the ground reporter was a 16-year-old Nordic kid. That's not who I'm talking about. There was like a photojournalist there who was filming the events, and they literally ripped her fucking video to be like to say the exact opposite of what she shot.
Support of genocidal Zionist organizations like the ADL and genocidal Zionist politicians like Richie Torres. The community from which all of these allegations originate is that of a content creator who says things like this.
He is interviewing the guy who's about to go do some shit to get himself killed, basically. That's what's gonna happen. We know from this point, that's what's gonna happen. So he walks away, gets back a little bit, and then he sets up behind this thing, right? Is this concealment, I guess? Not cover, concealment, right? Because I think the tank's over here. So now he can capture the footage right here. He sees the guys walking, knowing that they're about to get shot, because that's what's gonna happen. And then eventually they get shot and everything is, this is it. It's like act 1, 2, and 3. It's like all here. Now this guy is down. He's dead. These guys are like... and fatally wounded. They're not even running. They're not even like cowering and running away and screaming in fear. There's like, okay, well, they did it. We got our shots. Okay, is this guy down? Oh, shit. Well, okay. Well, we brought the white flag so we can put that over the bleeding part, assuming he got shot and is actually right. Flag and then this guy, what, is this guy running back to grab the wife?
By this stage, the man's wife, his widow, has heard what happened.
And then, like, what does this mean? The wife has heard what happened. Like, bro, this is crazy. I'm sorry. The tracking live movement shot of the lady running up to her dead husband? Like, what is this?
By this stage, the man's wife, his widow, has heard what happened.
Somebody went back and told her, right? The 5 martyrs that walked forward, you know, your husband was the unlucky guy. He drew the short stick today, so come forward, cry for us on camera. Do you think the guy intentionally wanted to get killed? No, I don't think he wanted to die. I don't think they were thinking they were going to die, but they probably were hoping to get shot at, or maybe, so you're saying the woman was acting? I don't think the woman was acting. She probably was sincerely sad. Her husband got fucking killed. But I think they were farming TikTok clips. I mean, remember, these people, actually, yeah, like have suicide bombers. So it's not that big of a stretch to imagine that they would be willing to get shot. However, now, I haven't gone down this road because this is way more, it would require me to make a lot more assumptions. But it's also possible he didn't get shot. Right? Now, do we know the name of the guy? Is he actually dead? Do we even know if this is his wife? These are a whole bunch.
I had never seen the full clip. I don't remember him going Notice how he almost said way more conservative and then stopped himself because he has to aesthetically maintain that he is like a liberal, a true liberal. Way more. I mean, this would be way crazier in terms of speculation. Or maybe conspiratorial. I don't know. Maybe he wanted to maintain, maybe he wanted to say conspiratorial, which it is, by the way. It is a conspiracy. And it's conservative, for the record. It is conspiratorial and it is conservative. He just didn't want to admit it because he has to be the liberal who only says the truth. He doesn't speculate about conspiracy theories. I don't think he was going to say convoluted. Not that it matters. Look at what he's doing, okay? My speculation on this is utterly irrelevant.
Bunch of questions that would be valid. Now, if I was way more on the pro-Zionist side, I would be asking those questions. Who is this guy? Do we even know if he's actually fucking dead? Like, we don't actually see the wound. Right? It seems like they don't have any problem showing anything else. Like, why just the white flag so that it can look all bloody? Like, show us the actual gunshot. You have no problem showing other violence, right? What Pallywood means is that you're capturing intentional video footage to sell a certain narrative about what's going on, basically. So Pallywood might be... this, right? So the idea is that like 4 innocent civilians are like walking up and you just want like a clip here of the IDF shooting them.
It's crazy that this person is not seen as like a violent radical by the very same drama slop tubers who are friends with him and get their notes from him. But I am for speaking out against these actions. Like, think about how distorted your worldview has to be, where you are fantasizing about an apartheid state murdering Palestinian civilians with a white flag and then saying, oh, they deserved it. Victim blaming to this fucking degree. Jesus Christ, dude.
For no reason because they're civilians with white flags. And you kind of ignore the fact that like, okay, well, they're in a battle zone in an area they were told to evacuate from, and they're going back to try to release somebody that was captured. Like, that's like Pallywood, I think. You're essentially provoking the enemy to take what is largely a justified action and then trying to say that it's like indiscriminate civilian killing. It's like a setup. It's not fake, but they're doing it to themselves.
Speaking of that guy, Destiny, the genocidal Zionist sex criminal video game streamer, he also had a crack at responding to my video where he made some interesting points. Destiny criticized my characterization of the 2018 Gaza border protests as being overwhelmingly peaceful by citing instances of violent actions that protesters took part in during the 2018 border protests, or the Great March of Return, which were recognized by human rights organizations as being overwhelmingly peaceful.
Overwhelmingly peaceful. Just as a quick thing, because people love to talk about the Great March of Return, the Peaceful March of Return. All of this is like the peaceful Great March.
Dude, how are you not recognizing this is the same shit that, like, liberal, by the way, saying the same shit about the Palestinian marches, about that people say about Black Lives Matter. Doors open. Doors open. Sorry.
March of Return. Remember this, okay? This is all the peaceful Great March of Return.
Now, when I used the word overwhelmingly in my video...
He says this about Black Lives Matter too. I mean, he is a Kyle Rittenhouse defender, to be fair, so yeah, he does.
I used it as the word is meant to be used, which is to mean overwhelmingly, which means what the word means, which is to a very great degree or with a great majority.
Overwhelmingly.
Some instances of violence during these protests do not contradict my use of this word. The protests were overwhelmingly nonviolent, which is exactly what the UN report found.
The protest camps set up along the fence can make you do a double take. In parts, they look like a community festival, a carnival, a fair, like a distant cousin to Burning Man. Women prepare falafel sandwiches. Barbers give haircuts and trim beards. Lip syncers and dancers perform in the shade. Actors ham it up playing cruel Israeli soldiers. Families come with their children.
Ultimately, though, regardless of how the protests were characterized overall, the reason I brought them up in my video was as evidence that Israel has a history of intentionally targeting Palestinian civilians for slaughter. That's what the UN report found. Israeli snipers intentionally targeted medics, journalists, men, women, children, elderly people, and disabled people. Cite whatever instances of property damage, tire burning, flag planting, rock throwing you want. These are irrelevant to the fact that Israel intentionally targeted thousands of civilians with sniper fire. The commission interviewed an international journalist covering the demonstrations at the Malika site who described the scene that day. What was notable was the amount of injured people and the slow, methodical shooting. Every few minutes, you would hear a shot ring out and you would see someone fall, and then another shot and another person fell. It went on for hours. I saw a man who had been shot in the throat. I didn't...
Yeah, the IDF also took credit over every bullet on a tweet. I don't take this as an offense, hopefully, but what happened that you and D grew apart? Did you at one point realize that his worldview was messed up, or did he turn on you once you had more success? Like, what's the story here? I don't want to get into the weeds of it, but I realized that his community was not as progressive or as liberal or genuinely empathetic as I thought it was initially, and that he himself was not really interested in advancing a cause, but more so just simply in it for the blood sport. And yes, in the same time frame, I was also growing as a content creator and had actually eclipsed him, and he can't stand that. He literally needs his orbiters in his mind, okay, people that he has a very transactional approach to constantly be by his side. And there are logs to prove this point. This is not speculation. There are logs all the way back from, like, I think 2018 or 2019, not 2018, sorry, 2019, talking about how frustrated he was that, I had more exposure than he did. I never really cared about or thought about it like that. I think it's, like, really fucking sad that this was the primary motivator for him. But, I mean, he has voluntarily revealed that he has no interest in anything really other than elevating his own personal status and like winning arguments and shit like that. So, so that's pretty much it.
See it happen, but I saw the immediate aftermath. He was covered in blood. I saw a man who had been shot in the head. There was a constant stream of bloody bodies being carried back towards the ambulances. It was surreal and endless. It became almost normal. It was happening so often. A shot, a person falling, people carrying the body away. The number of wounded was astonishing. I couldn't say how many people I saw who were shot because it was so high. I have covered wars in Syria, Yemen, Libya, and I have never seen anything like this. The slow, methodical shooting. It was just shocking. Presenting this fact is only a one-sided history if you think intentional civilian targeting is somehow warranted due to other unrelated instances of violence, which definitionally cannot be true. This is, of course, if we're taking international law into account, but Destiny's a Zionist, so that's not high on his priority list.
I'm pro-genocide.
Destiny has had similar Israel glazing-induced English language difficulties in the past. He had this same response when Norman Finkelstein brought up the 2018 border protests in the Lex Friedman Israel-Palestine debate early last year.
In 2018, there was the Great March of Return in Gaza. By all reckonings of human rights organizations and journalists who were there, it was overwhelmingly nonviolent. Along the Gaza perimeter, there was Israel's best trained snipers, correct?
I don't know best trained. There were snipers.
Fine.
Snipers.
Okay. All right.
Because,
hey, laugh. It's hilarious. The story is so funny.
You're lying about
it's
the Great March of Return had aspects of violence to it.
Okay.
According, even the UN says it themselves.
Okay.
But you only collect what the UN says that you like.
You see, the problem, Mr. Morelli, is you don't know the English language. You don't.
I can read from the UN website itself. In regards to the Great March of Return, they said, while the vast majority of protesters who acted in a peaceful manner, during most protests, dozens have approached the fence attempting to damage it, burning tires, throwing stones and Molotov cocktails towards Israeli forces, and flying incendiary kites and balloons into Israeli territory. The latter resulted in extensive damage to agricultural land and nature reserves inside Israel and risked the lives of Israeli civilians. Some incidents of shooting and throwing of explosives have also been reported.
Talk fast. So people think that you're coherent.
Notice Destiny's retort to Norm's description of the protests being overwhelmingly nonviolent is that there were actually aspects of violence. This is not a contradiction. Overwhelmingly means overwhelmingly.
16 سنة صوبت في يوم الأرض تاريخ 30/3 يوم الجمعة كنت على الحدود الشرقية في رفح. كان في آلاف آلاف المتظاهرين والمتظاهرات شباب وفتيات ونساء.
Yeah, they had to snipe like pregnant women and medics that were clearly defined as medics, by the way, because fucking they were throwing stones. I guess random people were burning tires and throwing stones. I guess that's totally valid and not an insane overreaction. They shot people in wheelchairs, man. They celebrated the act of shooting a pregnant woman by memorializing it with a t-shirt, famously calling it a 2-for-1 special. Get the fuck out of here. It's a truly depraved country.
وأطفال وشيوخ. وصلت على الساعة 9 صباحا. بدينا إنه أول ما وصلنا قعدنا شفنا وين رح نقعد وبعديها رجعنا صلينا الجمعة ورجعنا أنا وصاحبتي. لما وصلنا لقينا كل الشباب راجعين كلهم لورا ما حد متقدم. فمسكنا أنا وياها إيد بعض وصلنا نقدم قدامهم واجوا باقي البنات صاروا يمسكوا ايدينا والشباب صاروا يهتفوا لنا ويشجعونا اكثر مشان نقدم اكثر. كنت امسك الاعلام واغرسهم او اقرب اكثر واكثر. غرست العلم ومسكت علم ثاني وصرت الوح فيه. فالاحتلال يعني ما عجبه هالمنظر يعني. طبعا يعني كنت انا محروقه يعني من جوا كنت بغلي يعني تعرف شوف في كل الظلم اللي انت بتعيش كل يوم. كنت من الاقليه الموجودين يعني كنا بنعد على اصابعي اللي قدام. وانا قدمت كثير وكنت بعيد عن اليهود اقل شيء 20 متر. لما لوحت في العلم سمعت صوت طلع صابت صدمه يعني كابوس. أول ما شالوني وقعت على الأرض بعدين شالوني ثاني مرة ودوني على الإمبلاس. كنت يعني بدي أنام كنت وجع كتير.
Now you find it so far-fetched. Israelis purposely, deliberately targeting civilians? That's such a far-fetched idea. An overwhelmingly non-violent march. What did the UN investigation find? Brace yourself. You thought it was so funny, the idea of IDF targeting civilians. It found, go look this up on your machine.
I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say it found that only one or two of them were justified killings.
Targeted journalists, targeted medics, and here's the funniest one of all. It's so hilarious. They targeted disabled people who were 300 meters away from the fence and just standing by trees.
Zionism's crazy because it kind of backs you into a corner of having to defend the indefensible. And I don't know, if you're as shameless as Destiny is, that's not really an issue.
They're doing it to themselves.
But for most rational human beings, you see someone arguing that and you say, oh, that's an insane person. And that's the high ground we have on Zionism. The more people understand the truth, the less people...
It's so funny that Destiny still thinks he didn't lose this debate. It is because he has to maintain a posture of strength because he understands that his audience only responds to that. If he were to ever admit defeat, then they would go, oh, you're a fucking moron. That's it. That plus we live in the post-truth era. It doesn't matter. He both lost on the optics and on the substance. He bit off more than he could chew. He was not going after like a fucking random misogynistic podcaster for once. He was actually going after someone who was infinitely more knowledgeable than him on this issue. Norm Finkelstein, at least on the issue of Gaza, is one of the most solid chroniclers of the truth. It's crazy. How come Norm doesn't fuck with you anymore? What are you talking about? There's no planet where he didn't fuck with me. He doesn't even know who I am. I live on the internet. He does not. He doesn't even have a phone. He has a landline. Mudahar called Norman Finkelstein unhinged and emotional. I have a clip of him, Turkey Tom, and D giggling like a bunch of hoes, but I will get clipped if I share. Link, not sub. By the way, D said, all right, get permission from mods. And they, you can link it then. Yeah, you just got a permission. You can link the clip if you want now.
To be publicly willing to defend these crimes. Destiny later nitpicks my comment about the media's use of terrorist designation in articles before covering the attack.
I don't know.
Is everyone you bring on a troll?
No, usually I verify people, but I was like, fuck it, because it's really
Is Norman
big.
Jinkelstein a troll?
That's a good question. That I don't know. I'm not too sure about that.
Bro, what was that fucking debate even like, dude? I saw like a bit in piece on Twitter about it. Apparently they were like, yo, Destiny got owned in every clip that I watched. I'm like, the other, like, the guy who you were debating was just getting emotional the whole time. It's like, you're reading Wikipedia. It's like...
That second voice that you're hearing in the background is Mudahar. He was just getting, like, emotional the whole time, dude. He seemed to be such a brilliant orator, dude. Yeah. Oh, is it surprising to you that Mudahar took these idiotic stances? Also going along with the smear campaign against pro-Palestinian voices? Well, also, you know, still trying to maintain a presence where he's like, oh, well, I think, like, you know, I just don't like death, dude. How did that happen? Oh, man. Oh, man, how did that happen? Here's the problem. People who don't want to fucking learn about anything, people who don't want to read about anything, would much rather get their information from this fucking dingus on screen. This fucking sex pest on screen. They like him. They think he's brilliant because he has the capacity to present himself as much smarter than he actually is. That's all it is. So they respond to the optics of it. It's ironic because he did this against Jordan Peterson so expertly all the time. I remember a time when Destiny used to shit on Jordan Peterson and his fan base aggressively because Jordan Peterson or Tim Pool or many other right-wing commentators would present themselves as like intellectual authorities on the subject matter that they were talking about when they very clearly didn't know what the fuck they were saying. And their fans believed them. Now he's been doing this for the past couple of years at this point. There is no better sign of your intellectual inferiority than listening to an argument, listening to a debate between two people and not actually seeing the veracity of the statements, not actually recognizing which side is presenting factual arguments, which side is presenting cherry-picked points and doing not such a great job at it either. And instead going, oh, well, he just seemed really emotional, so you lost. You won the argument, King. You were so unemotional.
Bro, they have sources attached. He's not clicking on the source.
Well, and also I never read Wikipedia to him. I was just I was like quoting like either Amnesty International or the UN or the ICJ, but he was ultra triggered, but you know.
Yeah, but I read real books, not websites. That's fucking unhinged.
The funniest part about it is that Destiny is smarter than this. So I know in this moment, he has a little bit of fucking resentment towards who his allies are. Like, he'll entertain it because at least someone is on his side, and this is like him licking his wounds. But you can tell he's just like, ugh. I don't even think he fucking likes Ethan. I think he probably thinks he's surrounded by fucking dumb fucks by his own perspective because he thinks he has a heightened sense of his own intelligence where he just like he thinks he's super brilliant and he's very narcissistic. So he probably fucking despises that there aren't any like genuinely intelligent people on his side on any of these issues. He'll take the help wherever he can get. And his fan base certainly uses Ethan like a fucking fleshlight. You know, uses him as a weapon, basically. But you know deep down inside he's like, ugh.
Dude.
Look at his face. He's like, yeah, good point, Muda. Really brilliant point, man. Yeah, he surely was emotional. I definitely didn't get owned there.
These outlets always, of course, make sure to mention Hezbollah's U.S. designation as a terrorist organization. Don't worry, guys. They were just terrorists. Nothing to see here. We got the bad guys. They were bad. We are good. Mission accomplished.
Relying on a U.S. terrorist designation is retarded. But you don't need to do that. You could just know what Hezbollah is, which is like a paramilitary militant group that's funded by fucking Iran that now has like seats in the fucking Lebanese government that is like hostily taken over the southern part of that country, right? You could just know that. You don't have a U.S. terrorist designation. But we're gonna start simping for them now? Is that what we're gonna do? Okay.
Even if we're going to explore the reasons why this terrorist designation is to him not illegitimate, it only reinforces the circular logic of the terrorist label. You don't have to call them terrorists to know that they are terrorists. Just look at what they do. They kill civilians. They violently overthrow government.
Yeah, it's so fun. This is the other aspect of Sex Pestany's commentary is that on the one hand, he tries to present himself as this like incredible debater. A lot of why the audience thinks he's a brilliant debater is because he is a skilled orator, okay? He is not necessarily intelligent or knowledgeable on the matter. He's just very good at rhetoric and trapping people into and pinning them down into a rhetorical corner, oftentimes with the heavy utilization of logical fallacies that he tries to rationalize with a lot of confidence backing him, a lot of unearned confidence, really. But it's so funny. It's so funny when you are more knowledgeable on an issue and you listen to him talk. You're like, oh, I know what you're doing here. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just manipulating the conversation to an area of pre-couched statements that you developed ahead of time. It's a rhetorical trap. And when the interlocutor knows better and doesn't fall into that trap, he just tries to like yell at them. The famous example of that is obviously the Michael from Pennsylvania argument that he had over was it buy, borrow, die? Like, it's so obvious that he's in the wrong, and in the wrong because he's not knowledgeable on the issue, but he just tries to aesthetically win the conversation by yelling at the other person. Your prop clipping? What is that? What? Yeah, oh, so stock buybacks, yeah.
Governments. They take over entire countries. Okay, well, the US does all of those things, but it isn't on the US designated terrorist list, is it? Israel is US backed, the US being, by the criteria we just looked at, a terrorist state, but they're not on the list either. It's almost like these designations are selective and used to reinforce US imperial hegemony. Oh my God, no way. What?
These subhuman, Neanderthal, knuckle-dragging, white dipshits, like Noah too, will sit here and fucking defend Hezbollah, which is what he's doing, as like a legitimate governing party. Hassan, the terrorist supporter as well, who is also very white, don't ever be mistaken by his background or the way he looks sometimes, depending on what he's trying to present. Hassan is also one of the whitest people in the West, okay?
This is also such a weird, like, pathological obsession with the way that I look that these guys constantly fucking hit on. There's never been a moment where I haven't said that I'm white. Like, I will always say that I'm white. But depending on which side of the argument that you're on that suits your purpose better, these guys will literally call me a fucking brown Islamist, fundamentalist terrorist, or a white guy who's out of touch. It literally always changes. They are the ones who change the dynamic, and then they act like I'm the one who's changing the dynamic. Who was it? I remember There was a guy who was literally saying that I was trying to appear Arab because I was trying to appear Arab because it was the summer and I was going out and playing basketball, so I was more tan. One of his fucking dumbass fans was like, "Oh, look at you trying to look like an Arab, dude." Yeah, I'm a anti-white racist, but also an out-of-touch white guy. Fantastic.
Okay. One of the whitest people in the West. He's one of the whitest people in the West, folks. You've never seen a whiter guy than this Hasan guy. Ultimately, we don't need to take people like Destiny seriously. Zionists criticizing Hezbollah is not doing so in good faith. Obviously, he is a Zionist. He supports the genocidal Israeli regime and opposes resistance to it, which is what Hezbollah is. The group exists as a response to Israel's repeated colonial killing sprees in Lebanon, which are not terrorism, apparently, because Israel's the good guys. So he's not a person we need to take seriously in any of these conversations on what needs to be done. That's the sort of criticism trap here on YouTube. You know, a guy who isn't a part of your movement criticizing your movement. I don't like having to even bring him up. I honestly just like that white boy's clips. I thought it was funny.
One of the whitest people in the West. Subhuman, Neanderthal, knuckle-dragging, white dipshits.
So I'll look at some more of this stuff in future video responses. I'm going to split them up point by point and see if we can dive a little deeper into these topics. I think that has potential to be worth it, but we'll see. Today, though, I want to look at just a few of the common arguments I saw from Ethan Klein, his supporters, and other participants of this campaign. And because this video is more influencer drama focused, I'm going to take that opportunity to do a sponsor now. That's when I'll do them, when I'm talking about random internet micro celebrities. For as long as I need to do them, which hopefully isn't much longer. Support me on Patreon to make them stop. There's been an escalation in the trend of crackdowns over free speech and the right to protest in America. The US government and intelligence agencies have the ability to deploy warrantless surveillance against anyone. This is done through things like Section 702, geofencing warrants, sales to data brokers, and national security letters, all of which are used by the government to bypass the judicial system to monitor your communications. Basically, if big tech has access to your information, so does the US government, which is an issue if you want to be protesting that government. This is why I'm excited to talk about the sponsor of today's video, which is Proton Mail. Unlike the majority of other email platforms, Proton Mail is end-to-end encrypted with zero access encryption, meaning that emails from non-Proton Mail accounts are encrypted with your public key before reaching your inbox, which ensures that no one but you can access them. This keeps you totally immune from data breaches and surveillance. Most popular messaging apps offer this kind of end-to-end encryption, but many major big tech email services do not, like Gmail, for example. Proton Mail allows you to create email aliases whenever you sign up for new websites to hide your real email address, which you can easily deactivate if they're ever revealed in data breaches or start receiving spam. They offer other helpful features like email scheduling, tracking links.
Ethical Reacts also, before I forget, you can subscribe to the Hasanabi broadcast in order to help me maintain my editorial independence, and I won't burp into the microphone any longer. I keep forgetting to do call outs. That's right. You can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Sex Taver, thank you. By subscribing, you get new badges, emotes, and also the opportunity to link stuff to me. That's right. Fantastic opportunity. From what I understand, Ethan is also now, once again... Dude, has Ethan ever not projected, by the way? Like, has there ever been a moment where Ethan was like, this is something that I have never done, and now I'm calling out this person for doing? Has that ever happened? It's ironic because if he went after, like, I don't know, fucking Destiny for sex crimes or whatever, he could technically say that, right? He could technically be like, well, I've never shared nude, like, revenge porn with other random, like, Discord groypers that I want to fuck, right? Like, he could just so easily actually criticize someone without directly being in the crosshairs. And instead... in this instance, he's now, I think, yelling at Noah for having a sponsor on this, when in fact, ironically enough, his fucking context nuke was also sponsored. He was like, this is a very serious issue. This is the arch anti-Semite who loves terrorism. One of the most important issues of all time, pestering the Western world with his discourse, radicalizing the youth. Maybe he loves Hamas and also Hezbollah. Also, here's an Express VPN ad. Like, dude, what are you doing? Every single fucking accusation is a confession. He'll cry about snark pages while also using his subreddit as a snark page. This is why it's like pretty funny whenever I do like a fraction. Whenever I respond with a fraction of the smoke that he has had for me for the past half of a year, he loses his goddamn mind. He's like, I'm going to sue every human being on the planet. I'm going to go chain myself to the headquarters of YouTube because people are being mean to me on YouTube now. I'm going to chain myself to the fucking Reddit headquarters because my former fans hate me. Or yeah, that's the other thing. When he also says like, I'm obsessed. That's so funny. It's like, oh, this Hasan guy, he's so obsessed with me. It's like, dude, come on, please go one fucking stream. Go one goddamn stream without having my name on it. Okay. You try to desperately bring back the new fans that you've developed in your community that are only there for the toxic anti-Hasan rhetoric. So whenever you can't fucking go over 20K, you're like, no, guys, I promise, there's anti-Hasan stuff in here. I promise. Yeah, I see the titling and thumbnailing. It's all over fucking Twitter. It's all over fucking Reddit. Yeah. No, if I, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Now, what's funny about it is that I warned Ethan months ago where I was like, dude, if you keep doing the fuck Hasan button, you're just going to become like a one-note incredibly toxic community of people that desperately want that. And you're going to shed away your actual loyal fan base slowly but surely because even they are not dedicated to hating me as much as you are. And then those other guys, in order to recultivate the fan base that you once had that care about the goofs and gaffs, you're going to move away from the anti-Hasan shit. And then you're going to lose the fucking new fans that came in just for the anti-Hasan shit. I said this months ago. I was like, listen, you're fucking up your own bag. You're fucking up your own content. Because the new fans that come in because of the crash out, they're not like real loyal fans. They, as a matter of fact, hate you. They don't care. They have hated you for a very long time, and they probably still hate you, but they love that you're attacking me. All the while, you're losing your fans who love you and constantly fucking criticizing them and acting like you want to dox them and shit. The moment that you now turn off the anti-Hasan commentary, those new guys are going to fucking leave. They're going to probably call you the R word again, like Destiny used to call you until he realized he could use you as a weapon.
Blocking and inbox cleaning. Switching to Proton Mail is really easy. You can import past emails seamlessly and forward Gmail messages to your new Proton Mail address, or you can start fresh with a clean slate. It's up to you. Proton Mail has over 100 million users and is 100% funded by customer subscriptions, and all services are completely ad-free. They operate out of Switzerland, where they benefit from robust privacy laws. Proton got started with a public crowdfunding campaign and is owned by the Proton Foundation, which is a nonprofit dedicated to ensuring privacy and data protection. Sign up for free using my link at proton.me/Noah Samson to protect your privacy and also support the channel. All right, back to the video now. In this Instagram story, Ethan asks the question, when did I ever support a genocide?
When did we ever back a genocide?
I'm sorry.
When? Like, show me.
I have an answer to that. Let's go over it once again. Ethan Klein was the primary signal booster for the smear campaign against pro-Palestine activists that was orchestrated by a group of openly genocidal Zionists during the active genocide of Palestinians in Gaza. Every point raised in his content nuke video was borrowed directly from Destiny and his community regarding Hasan's alleged terrorism support, his alleged anti-Semitism, and his alleged extremist views.
Hasan uncritically interviewed this kid for about an hour. It was the most brazen display of disgusting terrorist propaganda that I have maybe ever seen in Western media. Okay, fine. He likes Hamas, he watches their propaganda, but he's not going to deny the violent rapes that took place. That is way beyond the pale.
Ethan himself
oh my God, he's just showed sources. Oh, he's sourcing it directly back to the subreddit. Once again, a subreddit that when we first started the Leftovers podcast, fucking despised him. A subreddit that actively called him the R slur. A subreddit that actively made fun of him, made fun of his wife, made fun of all of the employees, made fun of Teddy Fresh, everything. In ways that I have not, by the way. Like, people will say, oh, you make fun of Teddy Fresh? Like, yeah, sure, there's like some of the merch that I've made fun of. But the shit that these guys used to say about Ethan, and then only to turn around and act like they're massive fans of him, specifically because he became an anti-Hasan loyalist. And it's funny because I don't even think they still like him. They think he's stupid. They just like that he is constantly elevating the smears. It is hilarious. It's also kind of sad that he just doesn't recognize that.
This very stream reveals that he is
they see Ethan as a useful idiot,
aware of Destiny's comments that openly endorse the genocide of Palestinians.
The only person he's probably not defaming here would be Destiny because of his comment about, he said, I believe in genocide. He said, I think, and during one conversation, like that the Palestinians should just leave. So if you're talking about defamation, that's like an easy out, right? For legally speaking.
So that's one way to back genocide, is by functionally collaborating with an openly genocidal Zionist who you know is openly genocidal on a video that reached over 3 million people exclusively using arguments and out of context clips that were compiled by the community of that openly genocidal Zionist. The other major way that Ethan backed the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza with his video was by spreading atrocity propaganda narratives that the Israeli state, military, and its backers in the West have used as rhetorical justification for their genocidal actions. This backing precedes Ethan's content nuke, as he was one of the first major content creators to spread the 40 beheaded babies hoax.
They found 40 dead fucking babies at this kibbutz where like tons of people got killed. Now, I don't know if they were beheaded, okay? And some people really care about that detail. So to me, the 40 babies is enough.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
A false claim that he has yet to rescind or apologize for making. In the content nuke, he doubles down with this sort of propagandizing for the state of Israel by spreading the Hamas mass rapes hoax. He cited the documentary from Sheryl Sandberg.
Bro. Israelis don't even believe these fucking interrogations are valid. The purpose of these interrogations are to humiliate Palestinians. It's not actually it's torture. Like, these are tortured people. What the fuck? I didn't even realize he was like, did he actually use the fucking interrogations? Like the torture confessions as proof that like Hamas was doing mass rapes? Is he fucking that stupid? No, he did not. Oh, they're saying Sheryl Sandberg used them. Okay, good. Oh, Jesus Christ. I was going to say. Also, by the way, he used the reason why Noah's bringing up Sheryl Sandberg's video, Sheryl Sandberg's documentary. Sheryl, who, by the way, has allegations against her that came out recently. The reason why he's showing this is because he did use a clip from Sheryl Sandberg's documentary, in air quotes, about like the mass rapes hoax. How was it found that they were confessions under duress? First of all, there is no confessions under torturous conditions anyway, but it's not a secret. Like there are no acting. There's no way to get actionable intelligence under torture. There's an entire conversation that I had recently about America doing torture in Guantanamo Bay and how they found zero actionable intelligence. That's number one, because people, when they're tortured, just fucking tell you what you want to hear. They just cop to it. But these guys, or these torturous confessions are specifically designed to repeat whatever the fucking Israeli narrative is at the time. Like they would get them to say, yes, Hamas is just like ISIS, shit like that. I remember watching it at the time. And it is not a secret that Israel tortures Palestinians, including these guys. You can literally see that he's like fucking bloody and beaten up in the confession. Like, what are we talking about? They don't even try to hide that they're doing this. It's usually done. These interview confessions or these interrogation confessions under torture are just done simply to like elevate whatever the Israeli claim is, and to have like Palestinian captives repeat those talking points. They've done this to children too, by the way, which is fucking insane. I remember covering it a while. Like, there's a very famous incident of a child who's like 14 years old in a similar situation, and they're just like making him say whatever the fuck they want.
Relied on testimony made under duress in Israeli detainment centers and unverified claims from witnesses.
Earlier this year, former Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg produced a documentary that was screened at the White House and on Capitol Hill.
Last year, Hamas committed horrific acts of sexual violence. Sheryl, I thank you for all your work to bring to light the horrors of this issue and for your film about what happened on October 7.
The way that Sandberg proved her case, shockingly, was significantly through the use of coerced interrogation videos. The documentary, of course, won praise in the pages of the New York Times and is, to this day, sitting on the White House website. The White House website now says, quote, "Preventing and responding to conflict-related sexual violence is a top priority for President Biden and Vice President Harris. Since October 7th, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and our entire administration have consistently condemned Hamas' horrific sexual violence. On June 17th, the Vice President hosted an event at the White House, which included a panel discussion and remarks by advocates and survivors of CRSV from around the world, and a partial screening of Sheryl Sandberg's documentary, Screams Before Silence, on Hamas's sexual violence on October 7th. Now, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, and Physicians for Human Rights Israel all rejected the use of hostage interrogation videos in the months after October 7th.
What? No way. Another group of anti-Semitic charlatans, once again, saying Israel's usage of tortured confessions is not viable, and actually, lo and behold, a direct violation of international human rights. Oh, they must be Hamas. They must be anti-Semitic. Isn't it strange how everyone is anti-Semitic? It's just crazy. The United Nations is anti-Semitic. Human Rights Watch is anti-Semitic. B'Tselem, the Israeli human rights organization, is anti-Semitic. It's just so crazy. The coincidence that all of these fucking groups, many of them, like human rights, was it Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch? Like literally created by a Holocaust survivor who is a Zionist. Like, understand something here. They're calling that guy fucking anti-Semitic, dude. Yeah, Human Rights Watch was created by a Holocaust survivor who himself, in the aftermath of October 7, was like, whoa, I don't know, this is not a genocide. And then he saw the situation. He was like, okay, dude. He was like, I'm a Zionist. I love Israel. Holy fuck, they're doing a genocide. Oh.
And most news outlets chose to reject their use as well, citing the likelihood the confessions were extracted by torture. Sheryl Sandberg, the White House, and Hamas have all gone a different direction.
Now, my point about this propaganda claim seems to have been misconstrued by some viewers of my video. The claim in question is not that rapes occurred, rather that Hamas systematically weaponized sexual violence during the attacks. This was the claim spread by mainstream news outlets like the New York Times and used by the US government and the Israeli government as a pretext for blowing up occupied apartment buildings.
It's interesting because what's really fucked up about this, especially because like they put me in the crosshairs on this issue, is that there was never a moment where I was like blanketly applying that no rapes had happened and you're just fucking wrong, right? Even to this day, I maintain the position that there is a likelihood that in times of conflict, especially when like criminal elements penetrate the security boundary of Gaza, like, or not criminal elements, but just like fucking random people that are not a part of a militia movement, there is a likelihood that it could have happened. It happens in times of conflict all the time. And having said that, Israel has been the only person, the only unit, the only organization that stood against justice for victims. Okay? They, one, undermined all the forensic evidence initially, and two, have never allowed any sort of independent investigation to be committed and to simply take their word on it without showing any evidence whatsoever. To this day, there's not a single piece of first-hand account, like real first-hand, reliable testimony. As a matter of fact, all the first-hand testimony that has been presented in the aftermath of October 7 and repeated in perpetuity were very quickly dismissed because people found out that these guys were just fucking lying. Meanwhile, the claim that there were systematic mass rapes that happened on October 7 that were directed by Hamas was complete bullshit. That's it. The only evidence in that regard is actually evidence to the contrary, that this was not a thing that happened. Meanwhile, if you want to look at systematic evidence, look no further than the Israeli prison system. Plenty of real hard evidence there, including footage, like CCTV camera footage of concentration camp guards raping Palestinian prisoners to death. Look no further than the mentality of the Israeli society, at least certain segments of Israeli society, that did a pro-rape riot after the Israeli government, the Israeli prosecutors wanted to prosecute 6 of the concentration camp guards that had raped Palestinian prisoners to death with a metal rod. And the far right in Israel fucking went up in arms with weapons and balaclavas and shit and stormed the goddamn... Hasanabi, you're spoiling the video? Okay, well, I'm sorry. This is very frustrating. All right, let's just keep going. Let's hear
target low-level Hamas commanders. The UN report that was released and cited widely by defenders of Israel as evidence that this is true says the opposite. The mission team was unable to establish the prevalence of sexual violence and concludes that the overall magnitude, scope, and specific attribution of these violations would require a fully fledged investigation. Ethan's citation of the conclusion to this report, point 86, that there are, quote, reasonable grounds to believe that conflict-related sexual violence occurred at several locations, does not at all verify the claims made in his...
Yeah. Unlike Ethan, I actually read that report on stream. Because unlike Ethan, I actually do fucking research. And ironically enough, if Ethan had done at least a little bit of research on what I've said on this issue, he could have found that video of me going through line by line of the fucking report itself. The report itself does not say what any number of these different pro-Israel morons claim it says. The report itself actually is quite damning if you understand the language that they're using, where they say, beyond circumstantial evidence, beyond a forensic analysis of footage where we are speculating that someone might have been victimized due to the crime of rape, there is no hard evidence on this. The only instance that reaches beyond hearsay or now falsified firsthand accounts is the hostage testimony. One of the Israeli hostages testified that she was sexually assaulted. That is the only instance of real hard evidence. And that was after October 7th. That wasn't even on October 7th. That's what's so crazy about it. It's like these guys fucking literally, and that's unjustifiable, by the way. Just make no mistake. Obviously, there's no like fucking, pro-resistance rape or whatever. That's not what I'm saying either. But it's wild that these guys unironically refuse to do the research and then make it your fucking problem. Like I have to deal with this for the rest of my life now. You know what I mean? People just being like, oh, dude, I saw some shit about you, dude. What the fuck's going on? It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Video in the central piece of evidence which he cited for it, which was Sheryl Sandberg's propaganda film.
What happened on October 7th was mass, systematic, planned rape and genital mutilation of women.
Nor in all the places that systematic sexual violence was alleged against Hamas, which it was many, many places, mainstream places. This conclusion also does not contradict anything Hasan has ever said about October 7th. In every clip cited in the video, Hasan is talking about the systematic rapes claim.
The systematized mass rapes that Hamas dealt on October 7th, not a single bit of that has been verified.
The clip that was cited repeatedly by Ethan, what he seemed to think was a smoking gun,
downplaying the violence, specifically the sexual violence, which he's done a lot of.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people that can't contend with. Like the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. They're not like so good. They have magical bullets.
Ethan's presentation of this clip is dishonest, though.
It doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live fucking free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much.
Hasan isn't talking about sexual violence in a vacuum. He's talking about it in relationship with something else, in relationship with the struggle for Palestinian liberation. It's like saying that it doesn't matter if rapes occurred during a slave rebellion. That doesn't change the dynamic that slavery should still be abolished, which is an entirely uncontroversial statement, if you're against slavery, of course. Some noted that the UN report called for further investigation.
You know what's funny? Even Noah's video doesn't show the fuller context. Do you guys want to see the full context of that famous clip that Ethan used in his context nuke? Because I'm not even just talking about like, I'm not even talking about just that like rapes does not mean genocide is justified. It's me literally debating a chatter who's like, why won't you dismiss the rape claims? And my position in this is that there is still a likelihood that sexual assault took place. There is still a likelihood that sexual assault took place on October 7th.
Many hostages have records of saying two different things. Also, how are you sure Israel didn't force them to lie? That's ridiculous. By the way, none of which justifies Israel's actions. So it doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live fucking free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7th. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So
the original time he reacted to that comment, he agreed with you. Isn't that crazy?
That's the other part of this problem that many people that can't.
Isn't that wild?
investigation into these alleged crimes, and that's true, it did. However, further investigations have been repeatedly denied by only one party, and that party is Israel.
Why not put the responsibility and blame the atrocities quite simply on the perpetrators and say it was Hamas who did it?
When I accepted the invitation from the government of Israel, we had a number of meetings and we discussed the parameters and explained clearly the purpose of the mission, which was only for the purpose of gathering, analyzing, and verifying information.
But still, it is pretty clear who did it after talking to survivors and hostages returned, right? It wasn't the Belgians who did it. It's pretty clear.
I understand the frustration of the people of Israel. I mean, like, I was distressed when I came to Israel because I saw a traumatized nation. So I understand the frustration, but I think it's up to your government to give access, and that's one also of my first recommendation.
What's interesting is that Ethan has showed some level of skepticism for these sorts of allegations before, but only when the victims were Palestinian.
Palestinian females freed from Israeli detention said more than 15 fellow Palestinian women were raped by Israeli interrogators to force them to confess to charges leveled against them and collaborate with the Israeli intelligence. Quote, Israeli investigators and intelligence officers keep videotapes of raping to blackmail the female detainees. So according to, I guess, this website, this doesn't seem like super credible, at least, or it might be credible, but...
You have an issue with...
AB's dad works for CARE, by the way. AB's dad works for fucking CARE. The website and the organization that he's considering to be not credible. Council for American Islamic Relations.
With CARE or Islam.net or the...
Well, what is this?
The lack of...
I mean, listen, that's a huge claim. 15 Palestinian women were raped.
Mm-hmm.
I was sexually abused in photographs, she said. But, like, what? I don't know what this is. What is this?
What do you mean?
Is this a source?
You're asking if it's credible.
Yeah, yes, CARE is credible. I think, at least.
What is...
CARE is
There's no
the
source. There's, like, nothing here. Like, shit. I mean, that's a pretty extraordinary...
Yeah. It's interesting because there's so much evidence for this. And I told him that I would return to him with like additional evidence. And I think he even found it himself. And I remember the Destiny community at the time found this like insane source that claimed that Israelis were too racist to rape the Palestinians. And that was the argument that they were going with. Like in Destiny's subreddit, I remember they were like, Hasan is so stupid for lying about Israeli systematized rape in Israel and Israeli prisons. Because here's this proof from a scholar that Israelis think Palestinians are too subhuman to actually rape them. They literally fucking did that, by the way. That was a real thing that they did at the time. I don't know if someone can fucking find it in the Destiny subreddit. I'm sure it's still out there. Around like a day after or the same day that this video came out. I remember seeing it. I always thought it was gross. They had this clip prepped and never even warned you so that you could bring in sources. You just put you on the spot. There's so much confirmed evidence on this. Oh, you found it. There it is. Archive post examining the Israelis raping Palestinian women's claims. There's a paper that claims the lack of rape by the IDF is due to racism. W racism. I owe you an apology. I wasn't really familiar with your game. This is them like just having fun because they wanted to dunk on me. Having a conversation with Ethan about like the credible allegations made by numerous Palestinian victims under Israeli prisons. if you want to know how someone can be so consistently on the wrong side of every fucking argument, here it is. Okay. The bastards won't rape them. My sides. This paper claims that the lack of race by IDF Palestinians is due to strong adherence to ethnic national ethos and a need to reinforce said ethos. It doesn't claim racism, though. As far as I know, rape inside the IDF soldiers by other personnel is much, much more common than rape on Palestinians. Source, Israel Defense Co. IL. Title says 26 cases of rape in the IDF in 2020 out of 1,542 reports of sexual harassment. Yeah. They literally were running defense. This is where it first began, by the way. This is where it first began. By a group of people that call themselves the Taliban or even the Hezbollah. It's the other thing. How is this subreddit not banned? They meticulously deleted all of the fucking brigading when they wrote. Hasan claimed on stream that Israelis raping Palestinian women is a well-documented part of Israeli apartheid apparatus. On leftovers, Ethan played the clip to Hasan. Hasan failed to provide any decent evidence of his claim. He conceded that he could have been more careful with his words and they would get back to Ethan with more sources. I've seen a compilation of sources floating around that proves Hasan was right and attempts to vindicate his claims of Israelis raping Palestinian women. I saw it first on the H3 issue sub, where it got uncritically accepted and highly upvoted, then locked and Moz deleted a ton of comments. Now I see it on Hasan's sub, where any dissenting voice is banned, so replying there is worthless. I look through each source. Source article summaries. TLDR, Palestinian women raped by an Israeli investigator in 1969. Physical intimidation tactics, sexual harassment used by Israeli interrogators. The real reason why this person did not find any fucking Western sources, I didn't fail to provide evidence. I did show him something, but I didn't give him more hardline evidence. But the reason why, is because one of the most famous Palestinian prisoner advocacy networks is called Adamir. Okay? Now, you might know that name or you might not know that name, but let me tell you why you might have heard about that name. Because a former State Department official that actually quit over America's handling of Israel in the genocide went on Christian Amanpour's show and openly admitted that Adamir was a Palestinian prisoner advocacy network that had documented extensive cases of Israeli torture in prisons, including, but not limited to, sexual violence. He also admitted that after this report came out, that Israel declared them to be a terrorist organization and then went in and seized their hard drives and made them functionally illegal. The United States government followed suit shortly thereafter. This is a process in which Israel does everything it can to actively undermine the truth. They will consider you a terrorist organization and will shut your operations down. This is the same country that, yes, I'm talking about Josh Allen on Christian Amanpour, where he openly talked about the story. The report was that the Israeli prisoners had, yes, raped a 13-year-old boy. That was a bridge too far for them to have out there. So they fucking went back. Same claim back when he operated in good faith. Yeah, this is the other side of the story, where when Ethan first heard me say these things, he understood what I was talking about. But that was, of course, 4 months ago, streamed on, no, not even 4 months ago, but streamed on October 30th, 2024. Where he heard this, where he initially encountered this claim, he had a very different attitude than the one he presented in the fucking content, the context nuke.
Wait, come on.
That's a Jew joke.
Mr. Piker has all but exposed himself as an apologist for sexual violence and savage R-words of October 7th. Doesn't matter if R-words happen on October 7th. It doesn't change the dynamic for me. What's interesting about that quote specifically is that I get what he means in that one. Like, I felt like he said worse stuff than that. Because he's saying, like, he's saying even if the R-words happened, Well, I think the way he phrases it is fucked up. Even if it happened, they did happen.
Yes.
But he's saying, even if they did happen, it wouldn't change the calculus for him. Which I understand what he's saying, but I guess the way he's saying it is,
Horrific.
even if.
She's like literally in real time correcting him. He gets what I'm saying. And it's a moment of honesty. And then she's like, no, don't say that. And he's like, okay, my bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for understanding the point that my previous podcast co-host made, who also actively defended me against accusations before I went and became a fucking full tilt Zionist, who defends Israel and talks about how fucking multicultural it is.
If it didn't happen, is fucked up.
Yeah, I would not argue that.
I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
It's just a devil take, not devil advocate.
I don't even think this, but just to play devil's advocate for a second.
I mean, just imagine to the girls that did survive, somebody's saying,
That's a very
I don't
callous.
care if it happened. You know.
Well, so like the ones
Wait,
that
what do you mean? Yeah. No. If someone survived a horrific act of rape that is completely unjustifiable, and then they fucking turned around and said, like, now I want to genocide everyone. Okay? Is that valid? What a stupid way to make an argument. Like, what? No. The argument is that rapes do not justify genocide. That's it. It's that simple. Rapes do not justify genocide. Okay? The fuck are we doing? I've never been an advocate for perfect victimhood regardless. Like, it's just so dumb. People always have this notion that, like, you have to be completely perfect. No one is. No one is a perfect victim, okay? Palestinians are fairly close to it overall, but it doesn't matter. Even if they're not, it still doesn't fucking matter. What are we talking about? The Nat Turner Rebellion was very violent. Very violent. Does that justify slavery? No. Holy shit. Don't you hate when you slip up on accident? No, this is back when his brain rot wasn't full tilt at that point, I don't think. But yeah, we arrived at this ironically enough because I was talking about how, like, I was I wasn't even like saying no rapes took place 100%. Which even to this day, by the way, there is no evidence of rapes on October 7th. Like, and I don't even know if we will ever be able to get evidence now because it's fucking so far in the past and Israel stopped any kind of investigation from taking place.
Claim. I mean, fuck. Like, it's serious to say that the Israeli apparatus is using rape systemically to oppress the Palestinians.
On March 13th, the United Nations released a report called More Than a Human Can Bear, which concluded that it's actually Israel who is guilty of this crime, the use of systematic sexual...
Yeah, but according to Chuck Schumer, it's fucking... you know, the UN is Hamas, and they're anti-Semitically claiming that Israel is doing a genocide. They're doing so anti-Semitically. That's Chuck Schumer. That's his own statement. That's his own words.
sexual violence, along with various other gender-related crimes like the deliberate targeting of reproductive healthcare facilities and violence against women and girls, all of which amount to crimes against humanity and acts of genocide. This report is absolutely damning. Everything that the US government, the State of Israel, the New York Times have ever accused Hamas of doing, Israel is guilty of with actual proof. Despite this, the Western media has been silent. In what little coverage the report is receiving, the findings are being downplayed in a repulsive manner. The New York Times, for example, let's just read how they covered it. The Israel is guilty of genocidal mass rape.
They always say accused of. Accused of. Palestinians definitely did it. So much evidence. Actually, we'll just fucking fabricate it. You know, like with the Screams Without Violence, Screams Without Words report. That was so insane. That did not meet the New York Times' own editorial standards. There was internal chaos at the fucking New York Times over it. Because they were like, how could you publish this? Like, this is an insane thing to publish with a fucking paper of record. Do you have no decency? Do you have no care? There was internal strife within the New York Times over Screams Without Words being reported as proof that Hamas had done systematic rape on October 7. It is shocking. It truly, because like, look, I know they lied to go into Iraq. They lied about fucking WMDs, all this shit, right? But even then, I still think like there's definitely, you know, there's a bridge you won't cross, right? Like for Israel, they crossed it. By the way, the initial UN report that Noah did not mention in this video that much says that the overwhelming amount of evidence, there's different standards within the UN report. I covered it back then. But if I recall correctly, there are different standards for evidence, okay? There is direct evidence, like forensic evidence, which is much harder to manipulate. There are secondhand testimonies, firsthand testimonies. There's, you know, like firsthand eyewitness testimonies that can be wrong, okay? But it's like still a higher standard of proof. And underneath it, like at the bottom of the barrel is like the forensic analysis that they do by looking at photos, where they'll just be like the famous case of that one girl who had what looked like blood on her pants. The assumption at the time from everyone was that person was, trigger warning, I'm talking about some really fucking horrifying things, right? You know, trigger warning depictions of rape, sexual assault, violence, all that stuff. People had speculated that person had been raped and there was blood in her pants. Okay? That is not a standard. That is not a standard for a rape claim. Because there's no proof that is what happened. Like she could have sat on a fucking pile of bodies. She could have sat on, it could not have, it was mud. Like it could have been mud. Like there's so many different circumstances that could be the reason. That's why doing forensic evidence, or she could have been shot. You know what I mean? So there is a lot of speculation that goes into forensic examinations like that. And that is the reason why you need a higher standard for making claims like this. Yeah, also collaborative evidence, multiple people telling the same similar stories. Exactly. None of these instances are. No, you can't say she was taken hostage regardless. You can't say that. That's not what we're talking about. Everybody knows she was taken hostage. I've never fucking said that she had not been taken hostage, let alone I've never even said that like there was no rapes that took place on October 7. There's a difference between the statements. There's a difference between a examination of the readily available evidence and whether or not it actually fucking reaches the standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. There was no investigation conducted beyond hearsay or beyond statements made by the Israeli government and the Israeli police. That's it. Israeli prosecutors even a couple months ago said no one has come forward with claims of being victimized by sexual violence. Now, there could be societal reasons for why women might not speak out on this front, because they're embarrassed, because they don't want to say it. But having said that, yes, you did, weirdo. You said what rapes? I don't think you're hearing what I'm talking about right now. I'm going to unban Peekaboo's Portia because you are having a hard time comprehending the words that are coming out of my mouth. Okay? There is, as it stands, no hard evidence on rapes taking place on October 7 beyond forensic examination of photos and circumstantial evidence. There have been numerous investigations, even internally, conducted domestically inside of Israel, where prosecutors have... Oh, did they fix it? Oh, thank you so much. Oh, okay, Saul. Of course. Eyvallah anne, çok sağ ol. Neymiş sıkıntı? Okay, all right, thank you. You are a terrorist supporter. You back all the things that fit a pro-Palestine narrative. Multiple people have reported it. Yeah, I am pro-Palestine, you fucking idiot. What are you talking about? I love that. I love that this guy openly admitted, like a fucking moron. Yeah, I'm pro-Palestine, you dumbass. Yeah, you caught me. Arrest me, officer. The fuck do you mean? That is amazing. Yeah, multiple outlets have reported on it. Reported on my pro-Palestinian position. I don't know, CNN, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, numerous other outlets that have reported on the fact that I am, as a matter of fact, pro-Palestine, uncompromisingly, and pro-Hamas. Oh, okay. You are a terrorist supporter. Well, you can't go back on that. You already said if you're pro-Palestine, you're pro-terrorism. You know what I mean? While the actions on October 7 were entirely avoidable, the power in that regard is entirely in the hands of the responsible party, the settler colonial enterprise that is Israel. That's it. These violent desires, i.e., maintaining an apartheid state, which maintenance requires a tremendous amount of violence, will inevitably have violent ends, i.e., October 7. There it is. And if you were to ask me, for example, out of the two parties that are not even operating on the same moral playing field, which one is genuinely a more moral actor? Yes, I would say Hamas is better than Israel. That is the truth. Hamas has not killed, whether because of logistical hurdles or whether because they don't have an air force or whether because they're not backed by the largest superpower on the planet. Doesn't matter. Hamas was a more moral actor on October 7 than Israel has been since October 7. That is a factually accurate statement that will probably warp your fucking mind when you hear it, right? Because you go, what? What do you mean? That is an undeniable fact. Go ahead. Explain to me how I'm wrong. The Israeli occupying force has a higher standard of morality as a state actor that is backed by the largest terrorist force on the planet, the American government. In terms of targeting civilians versus enemy combatants, Hamas is a more moral actor than Israel. In terms of targeting children versus adults, Hamas is a more moral actor than Israel. In terms of targeting women versus adults, male combatants, enemy combatants in general, Hamas is a more moral actor than the state of Israel. The faster you reckon with that truth is the easier you will understand the dynamic at play. I do not condemn the Nat Turner rebellion because it is not my place to do so. Okay? The same goes for the ANC, the same goes for the IRA, the same goes for the FLN. Resistance and the violent standard for resistance is set by the oppressive colonial party. Okay? There you go. He's baiting you for a clip? No, I know he is. I know. He's like, come on, please, please, please. Please say you love Hamas. Please, please say you love October 7 and Hamas so I can clip you and then blast you into oblivion. I already gave you a clippable take. Is it not good enough for you? Are you worried that other people will hear what I have to say and go, wait a minute? Yeah. I feel like people will get the Warsaw Ghetto connection to what's happening. Yeah, the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. Exactly. You can try to fucking condom hummus your way out of this, but less and less people since October 7 agree with your position because they also, too, recognize that what Israel has done is infinitely. Hit up my people. Adrian's down for the show, but Elon's busy this week. Yeah, the Warsaw Ghetto Intifada. Think about how fucking stupid you would sound if you were like, I don't understand why the Jews resisted in the Warsaw Ghetto Intifada. They should have just sat around and waited for their untimely demise. I don't understand. No, only peaceful resistance, please. You know?
Report. The headline reads, UN accuses Israel of targeting reproductive health facilities in Gaza. A report by a UN committee found that Israel has committed genocidal acts intended to prevent births. Israel quickly rejected the findings as biased. Thanks for the heads up on that. Okay, so no mention in the headline or the subheading of the systematic mass rape and sexual violence campaign by Israeli forces. It just groups those in with the genocidal acts there. And then an immediate citation of Israel's defense. Incredible. Let's read on. A United Nations commission on Thursday accused Israel of targeting hospitals and other health facilities in Gaza that provide reproductive services, including an IVF clinic where thousands of embryos were destroyed in what it called an effort to prevent Palestinian births. The report by the UN Commission.
Damn, it almost feels like they're, trying to cut the population size to the best of their ability.
Of inquiry on the occupied Palestinian territory called that and other actions that cause harm to women and girls, quote, genocidal acts, and accused Israel of punishing Palestinians collectively for the Hamas-led October 7th, 2023 attack that killed 1,200 people. So that's how the New York Times reports mass rape campaigns from Israel. Other actions. Other actions. Which other actions? Mass rape? Weaponized sexual violence? Credible evidenced allegations this time? No. You'll have to wait a bit to hear about those. First, the IDF is speaking. Israeli officials have long accused the Rights Council of singling Israel out, arguing that UN officials and committees condemn the country with far greater frequency than it does dictatorships like North Korea. In February, Gideon Sa'ar, the Israeli foreign minister, said Israel would stop participating in the council, accusing it of demonizing Israel. The United Nations is Hamas. The United Nations is anti-Semitic. That's what Israel told us, and we're going to tell you what they told us uncritically because the New York Times. The first time the word rape is used in this article isn't until 15 paragraphs in, and then when it's used, it's immediately followed with reporting that the accused were not ultimately indicted for any sexual offense, and that Israel says it doesn't do that actually, and that they follow the rules. I could scream. These people are fucking disgusting.
She was taken to sedate a man, and she was nude searched over and over again and filmed, and then she was raped twice by Israeli male soldiers, 2 of them at a time, while videotaping her. We have also one testimony of a woman who was also taken. She says she was also raped by an inspection device by a female soldier more than once. They inserted the inspection device in her rectum. We have also one testimony of a woman saying that she was strip searched and they would beat her on her behind and they would humiliate her in front of each other. Most of the women also who were taken from Gaza, West Bank and Jerusalem said they were beaten on their genitals, which has made it to conclude that there must have been a directive that's been given to the Israeli army to treat women in such manner, because in Jerusalem you're treated by completely different law enforcement than in Gaza or in the West Bank. But all these women said they were beaten on their genitals.
And I could just add on about the women who were forcibly disappeared in Gaza. Like I said before, it was usually as they were fleeing south through the safety corridor, they were abducted at the checkpoint. Many were taken to the Zakim detention center and the Negev detention center. all together in one large hall, forced to strip completely naked and just sit in this hall, the women amongst each other and the men amongst each other. And it's also been reported and known that Israeli civilians are invited to come to this detention center and mock the Palestinian prisoners while they're naked, photograph them, and watch them as if it's a zoo.
Just complete and utter depravity. Okay? So when you elevate erroneous claims without backing them with evidence and greatly over-exaggerating even the available limited evidence that exists, while simultaneously refusing to cover the real evidence of Israel's systematized versions of rape inside of its prisoner structure, inside of its prison systems, you're basically doing the most cowardly way of defending Israel possible. You're too fearful to openly recognize, you're too fearful to openly admit that you're pro-Israel unconditionally. So you just try to constantly fucking attack people who are against this depravity, and it's the coward's way out.
So that's something that we've seen.
Also, when it comes to checkpoints, like I said, it's where the sexual violence happens and it goes unreported. So we have
stripping Palestinian women naked, prodding them.
Have a testimony of a teenage girl who.
They won't let their fans watch any of this and say, when did we support genocide? I mean, you have the capacity, if you fucking meet an Ethan Klein fan in the wild or whatever, or online, you can direct them to these videos and be like, look, man, make up your own mind. You know what I mean? That's what they do. They try to get everybody to watch the fucking context nuke all the time, and then they'll be like, see, you've changed my mind. I'm the dumbest person on the planet, and I was incredibly not knowledgeable on this issue. And now I've decided I was duped. I'm being duped in this moment.
Was made to undress a man. Because he refused to undress, they made her undress him, even though she's not related to him. She doesn't know who that man is. And while being searched and touched and molested on their breast and on their genitals as well.
The media has largely downplayed this report and its findings, but it does conclude that Israel is guilty of the most prominent accusation made against Hamas on October 7th, which is that it weaponized sexual violence systematically. Israeli security forces do this in a coordinated, intentional manner with the goal of subjugating, humiliating, and collectively punishing the Palestinian population. Will the people in this smear campaign acknowledge the existence of this report? Will they acknowledge that their unverified accusations against Hamas are verified actually by this report against Israel? I personally doubt it, but who knows?
It's serious to say that the Israeli apparatus is using rape systemically to oppress the Palestinians.
The other piece of Zionist propaganda cited by Ethan in his video was his downplaying of the Nakba. He has participated in overt Nakba denial before.
1948, the War of Independence is called in Israel. Others know it as the Arab-Israeli War.
So I just want to note here that Ethan gave this supposed war two names there, but he missed one, the Nakba. And the Nakba is a very relevant and...
Peekaboo's Porsche, how does this justify what Hamas did? Both are wrong, and you are still rape denying when it very much happened. I understand your perspective, but why do you have to go 100% of the way while also denying atrocities on the other side? I have not. The difference between you and I is that I critically examine the readily available information and the evidence. You, on the other hand, add a whole bunch of shit that you believe happened. There's no denial of the atrocities that took place on October 7. This is something that I've actually talked about quite a bit. I've seen the videos. I watched the same videos that you did. While I still consider Israel to be a depraved, fascist, apartheid state that is currently doing a genocide for the fascist ideology of religious ethno-supremacy and expansionist for its expansionist territorial acquisitionist agenda, okay, I still can consider the actions of October 7 to be atrocities because they were shooting at random fucking civilians. Even if there is a music festival slammed to the fucking side of a concentration camp the people that are there still don't deserve to get fucking sprayed on, okay, with bullets. That's my assessment of the situation. But it's not enough, okay? It's not enough for you to consider. It's not enough that I say that. You want me to say something I don't believe. You want me to say something that, concentration camp on occupied land, yes. You want me to say something beyond that. You want me to say that a old technique of colonialist enterprise, which is the resistance to said colonial violence, is always done by barbaric rapist monsters. You want me to basically operate on that framework without a critical examination of how that violence has begun, how that violence persisted, how that violence in tactics of resistance got to the point it got to now. You want me to just simply say these guys are fucking rapist, barbaric monsters with no evidence to suggest that whatsoever. Okay? That's it. That's it. A lot of you, one, cannot comprehend when I talk about analysis. You think analysis is justification. That's number one. But beyond that, there are issues where I'll take a hardline stance on. Right? If there's no fucking evidence, if there's not enough evidence or no evidence whatsoever for like the systematic rape claim, for example, I'm not going to fucking be like, yeah, that happened, I think. Why? Because it hurts your feelings, you know? That's crazy. That's a crazy thing. As an Israeli, people here need to understand that your take is the one that benefits both parties in the long run. If the Israeli people really cared about the hostages and terror attacks, they would want to free Palestine. This is the only way to guarantee safety of both nations. Yeah, I also personally think the only way out of this is not even a fucking two-state solution, because there's 750,000 settlers in the process of like the so-called peace process. 750,000 Jewish settlers moved into the West Bank. That number shot up from 80,000 pre-peace process, mostly in occupied East Jerusalem, to all the way to the West Bank, creating Bantustans for the Palestinian population. Israel has used the Israeli governments have used the so-called peace process as a way to continue its expansionist agenda. So the only long-term stability solution here is to ensure that there is a secular, singular nation, because it currently exists as a singular nation, just not a secular one, but a nation that is designed around ethno-religious supremacy. And I think people don't understand that. There needs to be a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. There needs to be a right to return. People need to address the crimes that were committed. And in the process, look at both sides on that instance as well, for the record. This doesn't mean that both sides are operating on the same fucking playing field. I'm not saying that at all. But if there are crimes on either side, and there's many on one side, overwhelmingly, if not damn near the entirety of it, they need to be addressed. Reparations need to be given to people. This is the only way to maintain long-term stability. Anyway, let's continue going.
Very apt name, because the fact of the matter is that when this supposed war happened, the Palestinians had no real organization, no real funding, no really significant armed groups or leadership to protect them to fight back against the Zionist colonists, while the Zionist colonists had, for a very long time, organized terrorist groups, militias, etc. among them, which were extremely well funded by international organizations that they had formed, which were dedicated to funding and fomenting the Zionist colonization of Palestine. Hence, what Ethan Klein calls a war here actually started out as mass killings and expulsions by an organized military against the people who did not have one. The Nakba, contrary to the narrative of Ethan and Hila here, began before the intervention of the nearby Middle Eastern Arab states. It was a reaction to it, in fact. By the time of the Israeli Declaration of Independence, more than half of the people...
This is bad empanada, and not worse empanada. Bad empanada when he's locked in and is like talking about, you know, important historical events is bad. He's bad empanada. Bad empanada when he's talking about fucking drama slop tube as a drama slop tuber himself is worse empanada. I heard that he's still fucking yelling about how he was right and I was wrong for being stupid enough to say that I would entertain the notion of going to Gaza, not realizing he's like, oh, he's so stupid. I didn't even bring up the fact that he said something like that he didn't even bring up the fact about the Rafah border crossing because, even on the Egyptian side, Israel controls it, not knowing that there was a petition made by some of the journalists that I was working with at the time to get the United Nations to force for journalists, Western journalists specifically, to fucking enter the Gaza Strip. Over 100 journalists signed a letter requesting Egyptian authorities to allow access to Gaza through the Rafah crossing, February 3rd, 2025. This was an initiative that was launched at the time. Of course, that empanada, I think, doesn't want to come across like he's in the wrong, so he's just going to keep fucking saying that I was in the wrong for even maintaining this position. It's okay. Ultimately, the reasons as to why I don't, get too upset or offended over the shit that he does is because of this. This is the bad empanada. And when does Israel listen to the UN? It doesn't matter that Israel doesn't listen to the fucking UN. Whoa, a petition is definitely going to step over a genocidal state. Oh my God, dude. Dude. You guys are so unimaginably stupid and behaving in the same prideful way for someone else at this point. Dog. I know that it is not likely, and it clearly didn't work. That doesn't mean that there weren't steps of trying to make it happen at the time. Oh my Lord, so many of you are just still. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is dead ass annoying stand behavior? Yeah, it's weird because that's what he says my fans are doing. They're just like he operates on a different playing field as a serious academic when he's doing drama YouTube videos. But then I have stands. If bad empanada and worse empanada had a fight, which one prevails? Bad empanada prevails because bad empanada cares about doing research.
Who were expelled in the Nakba had already been expelled.
After the partition plan to split the Palestine.
Why the fuck are you two fighting? You should be kissing. No, I'm not even fighting him. I mean, he shits on me quite a bit, but it's okay. I don't really give a fuck. I ultimately don't care. I think as long as, he's never not going to be pro-Palestine and pro-Palestinian emancipation. I don't care if he's from the position that he's carved for himself attacking me. It's mostly one-sided.
Into a part Arab, part Jewish. As many of you probably know, every Arab country around Israel waged a war of annihilation.
Okay, so Ethan left the Nakba out of his narrative here entirely. That is absolutely inexcusable. It's like leaving the Holocaust out of World War II. It simply cannot be forgiven. It is abhorrent, honestly. It's the only way that his narrative can really hold up here as well.
But he does.
Yes, the Turk does not, at the end of the day, the Turk does not concern themselves with the opinion of the Greek, a Cyprus Greek from Australia. Okay? Bad Empanada suggests that he is not my Devshirme warrior. He is not my Janissary. When we all know the historical truth. As a Cypriot Greek living in Australia, he is my sleeper cell, Devshirme, Janissary warrior. Is there a good empanada? Maybe. I saw someone in my community saying Noah Samson is like if bad empanada took his meds, and it's like, yeah, this is the good empanada.
He does it again in the content nuke in a different way. He downplays the Nakba in the content nuke by equating it to Jewish expulsion from Muslim countries.
In fact, there was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 1 million Jews.
Yeah, that was so gross, dude. I could not believe that he said
Is done
that.
with misinformation, so he lies by omission regarding the nature of Jewish immigration to Israel. But even if he hadn't, this is on its face a piece of Zionist propaganda. Because being a refugee does not enshrine upon you some right to steal other people's land and make them refugees. That's what the settlement of Israel was, and any equivocation between that and other factors is a direct rhetorical justification for the crime.
The very premise behind it is obviously flawed, and presenting the partition plan as if it was not clearly a grave injustice is a rhetorical trick to then sort of implant this idea that what Israel did was legitimate. They were just abiding by the plan, apparently, even though they broke every single thing that was stipulated in it, and that it is the fault of the Palestinians for rejecting obviously untenable things like this, rather than just giving up more than half of their country to new arrivals for their own exclusive use. And it's especially ironic that Zionists love to cite the partition plan as somehow legitimizing when they reject, like, literally every other UN prescription or decision, binding or not, ever made on the subject of Israel-Palestine aside from it.
The last main point on Ethan's support.
I'm not clicking on the good point that he's made here. Okay, Hassan's poop sock, you can't get me that fast.
Of the genocide in Gaza is his effort to delegitimize resistance to that genocide. He spends a good deal of time in his video going after Hezbollah and Ansar Allah, literally calling them the bad guys.
All right, so these guys are clearly the bad guys.
I feel like I already touched on this a bit in this video and the last one, but what struck me about this section was just the brazen lies about these groups, spreading the ridiculous claim that Hezbollah is responsible for the entirety of the death toll of the Syrian civil war, while also changing all of those deaths, which included combatants, to civilians, and accusing them of genocide.
He has a poop sock pass. Does he want to use it right now? I caught him. Like, he wants to get me. It's going to be, he has a poop sock pass. But if I catch him, then it's not as funny. You know what I mean? He gets a freebie, but I'm doing this for him. I'm doing this for all of you. Okay, we're also talking about something super serious right now, and we're fucking talking about poop socks and shit, but basically, this is to preserve the integrity of the poop sock, the one poop sock that he has, you know what I mean? If he wants, I'll click on it right now, but he'll burn his one lifetime poop sock. Do you want me to click on it and burn the one lifetime poop sock? Wait, he tried when I had Bernie and AOC? That's insane. Ain't no way. That would have been good. That would have been good. You fucking psycho. Now that would have been a historic poop sock. That would have been a poop sock for the books. A record. I would have to explain to Bernie Sanders what poop sock is. You might have caused him to have an aneurysm. Like, think about that. You did not even think about the dangers of poop socking like this. With great power comes great responsibility. Thank God I didn't see your poop sock. You told me I could do it with Bernie, so I tried. God damn. The poop sock that changed the world. Also, we're getting botted again. Look at this. Ay, ay, ay. Look at this shit. Oh, thank you. That's great. Fucking so dumb. All right, let's keep going.
They participated in the slaughter of over...
Yeah, this was also an incredibly stupid argument that... Well, not even argument. Incredibly stupid statement that Ethan made, attributing all of the deaths in the Syrian civil war to Hezbollah.
500,000 Syrian civilians. And they killed hundreds of thousands of civilians.
Like, how did no one go, hey, man, that seems a little untrue? If I recall... Russia was like, you know, the Russian Air Force was like bombing fucking entire buildings. Does Hezbollah have an Air Force? Like, how are you that fucking stupid? I'm serious. I know AB corrected him after the fucking context nuke, but like, Like, how is no one in his fan base going, wait a minute, 500,000? Hezbollah killed 500,000 people? 500,000 people? It's so fucking stupid. It is such an incredibly stupid. Like, they were dropping barrel bombs, dude. You think Hezbollah had barrel bombs and a fucking Air Force to drop barrel bombs with? Like, what are you, fucking crazy? Like, what an insane statement, dude. Pretty sure if Hezbollah had Air Force, they would not be using it in the Syrian civil war. They'd be fucking using it on Tel Aviv, okay?
What can only be described as a genocide.
No one does this. I don't know.
Like he fucking shows footage in the context puke.
Civilians.
Like, look at
what
this.
can only be described.
Like, you think Hezbollah did this? Are you fucking that stupid? Are your fans that stupid? They didn't, at no point did they go like, well, that kind of looks like, you know, like an enemy with air superiority. Like, it seems like planes drop bombs. You know what it looks like? It looks like fucking Gaza, actually. So you should know what that looks like, because I'm sure, because you're so pro-Palestinian, you've seen it. We absolutely were not taught this. They definitely don't know. I mean, dude, critical thinking. It's not that difficult. You don't have to know all of the information. A lot of times I describe to chat ways of, like, I try to teach you how to think. Okay? You don't have to have all of the information to be able to use a different part of your brain. Let's say you didn't do enough reading on the matter. You don't understand it. The Syrian civil war is too complicated. There are so many different belligerents. Almost all of them are funded by America in some ways, in some way, shape, or form. How the fuck did that happen, right? Like, it's complicated. It's a confusing situation. And on the one hand, you have an Iranian-backed resistance group, right? Hezbollah. This resistance group was born out of resisting against the Israeli bombing campaigns and the Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon. Now, that group is a paramilitary force. They don't have an air force, right? They don't have an air force. Fucking the Lebanese government barely has any sort of air defenses to begin with, because the American government won't let it happen, because that way Israel won't be able to blow Lebanon up freely. But that's besides the point. So they don't have an air force, right? Like, you can make that inference. So if they don't have an air force, how did they do this? Because this is the image he's presenting, saying Hezbollah did this. If they don't have an air force, how did they do this? How? That's critical thinking. Like, you can go, I don't think Hezbollah has an air force, because if they had an air force, they probably would use it on Tel Aviv, right? They probably wouldn't just, like, you know, we would probably know about it. So we know that they don't have an air force. So if they don't have an air force, how did they actually do this? How did they do this bombing campaign? With, like, grenades? You think you can fucking hollow out an entire building with grenades like this? With car bombs? Because this is the evidence he's presenting.
Described as a genocide.
No one does this. I don't know where this came from, but it's just legitimately a bizarre claim to make. Or his false claims.
Also, to be fair, yes, if a Shia force came into Syria and predominantly ethnically cleansed, like, Sunni Muslim populations with air superiority and barrel bombs, yes, you could say that's a genocide. Except that's not what happened, and the closest analog to that is fucking Israel. Israel doing a genocide in Gaza. So, hey, guess what? If your evidence that you present there was true, you would be right. Except it's not true, and you're fucking wrong, while simultaneously wrong on the other front as well. Israel is doing a genocide. Oh.
About the Houthis, that the hostages taken from the Galaxy leader had not been seen or heard from since the genocide began.
I'd like to remind everybody that the crew that's kidnapped in this video has been missing for over a year now with zero.
Wrong. Not true. Again.
updates on their health, whereabouts, or anything.
That lines up with leftist values.
That's not true. They were confirmed to be in good health by visits from humanitarian organizations, or just lying about the nature of their attacks, as if the Houthis are attacking these ships for any reason other than what they're doing it for, which is to stop Israel's genocide.
The Houthis have been extremely explicit and repeat on an almost daily basis. Their attacks on ships in the Red Sea will stop as soon as the Gaza war ends and humanitarian and other supplies are allowed into Gaza, and therefore the Palestinians.
And they did, and they stopped. That's the other thing. They fucking stopped. The only time they stopped was when Israel did a ceasefire, when Israel agreed to the ceasefire after months and months and months of bombing.
Palestinians will no longer be under the threat and the horrors that you've earlier described and that most of us have seen on our screens for many, many weeks. The important thing is that although the US and the UK claim that they're only defending free movement in the Red Sea and refuse to accept any connection between this and the war in Gaza, for the Houthis, it's absolutely straightforward and explicit that, number one, they're only targeting ships that have any connection with Israel, whether they're going to Israel, coming from Israel, delivering stuff, owned by Israelis or whatever, any connection, whatever. And that other ships are not targeted, except, of course, now, since the US and UK strikes have started, they are also targeting US and UK ships.
Also evident in the fact that during the ceasefire, quote-unquote ceasefire, that Israel violated over 1,000 times, the Houthis stopped the attacks, and they only started them up again when Israel started completely starving out the Gaza Strip, fully restricting aid. And in defiance of the starvation blockade, the US and the Saudis started bombing in Yemen and killing children. So if you want to stop Israel from killing children, the U.S. will kill your children. That's basically...
That is precisely what has happened.
The conclusion of that sequence of events. It bears repeating here, Hezbollah and Ansar Allah are the only groups in the world that have provided aid to the Palestinian resistance against Israel's genocide. That's
also
fact.
true.
Citing their status as U.S.-designated terrorist groups or historical examples of their violations of international law does not change that fact. If we acknowledge the fact that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, which Ethan, or at least his fans, seem to believe he does, then it must also be recognized that the international community is legally obligated under the Genocide Convention to employ all means necessary to prevent...
Yes. This is precisely the reason why Israel so deliberately and so desperately tries to disparage anyone that correctly says what it's doing, genocide. This is at the heart of the problem. Just like, and the similar thing exists in the West Bank for the Israeli apartheid. If people start recognizing that Israel is an apartheid state and is also doing a genocide, then all of a sudden the legal justifications under international human rights change dramatically. This is precisely the reason why, as a matter of fact, since 2021, once a lot of the human rights organizations started openly branding Israel as an apartheid, a reality that everyone with fucking eyes were aware of well before 2021, the dynamic has shifted a lot. I have seen the dynamic shift a lot. I've seen the narrative shift a lot in the Western world. Obviously, if you go to the global South or any fucking developing nation that's like maybe in the periphery of Western empire, the populations there are very well aware of what the fuck Israel's been doing. But the relatively new momentum coming from younger generations in the Western world is different. And the difference there is because people understand Israel's an apartheid state and Israel is doing a fucking genocide. That's it.
Said genocide. When it comes to Israel's genocide in Gaza, these terrorists here are the only ones following.
Also, as far as like Hezbollah's terrorism designation goes, like I don't think every other. Let me see. Like there a lot of these countries don't even fucking designate Hezbollah or even Hamas. Some countries don't designate them as terror groups. This is like a American backed designation to begin with.
Following the law. The only one.
Yeah, more than 60 other countries and organizations, including the EU, the Arab League, and the Gulf Cooperation Council, also designated Hezbollah either in part or in its entirety as a terrorist group.
ones operating with
AIPAC, Hezbollah, 100% terrorist organization.
any sort of moral compass.
All states are obliged to do everything in their power to stop this genocide from continuing. And
also, given the fact that they're Shias, for the record, given the fact that they're Shias, there's not a lot of love for Hezbollah or Iran in the region. That's another thing, for the record. That is a fucking another reason. Like, the Turkish government loves Palestinians, right? They will welcome Hamas political envoys and things of that nature. But in terms of like Hezbollah, they see that as an entirely separate, like you won't hear them such a shill Lamau, anything to make the story stick. Wait, what? Who's shilling? Are you talking about me? What is the story? Is Israel doing a genocide or not? Like, what do you mean? That's not a story. That's just a fucking reality. Lol baited. Holy shit. I mean, Iran would do dodgy things if Israel didn't exist. That's fucking ridiculous, dude. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, no, totally. Just like the Palestinians would do an actual genocide on Israel if the walls came down, you know? If there was a single state, then the Palestinians would actually do a genocide, which Israel's not doing to the Palestinians right now. But if it was, it's doing it as a defensive genocide, a pre-genocide genocide, if you will.
in Palestine. Who has actually done that? South Africa, when they brought Israel to trial in the International Court of Justice for genocide. I've said arguably Hezbollah, not a state, but it is a significant actor in that state because it has engaged Israeli forces militarily, initially in terror.
Yeah, that's why when slavery was abolished, every white man and woman and child became a slave to the newly freed black men in this country.
Territory illegally occupied by Israeli forces, the Shebaa farms in South Lebanon, to draw Israeli assets away from the genocide. And the third one that you mentioned very significantly, Yemen under Houthi control. The Houthis, Ansar Allah, they announced in response to Israel's genocide in Palestine that it would block shipping into the Red Sea that was headed to resupply the Israeli regime as long as it continues the siege and the genocide in Gaza. And it's been using this choke point at the head of the Red Sea called Bab el-Mandeb, which means the Gate of Tears, in this narrow strait between Yemen and Djibouti at the opening of the Red Sea.
Thank you, Hot Boys, for the 10 gifted
targeted
subs.
Partial blockade in November of 2023.
You too can support the stream at the top of the hour or at any other moment throughout the stream by subscribing for $6 or for free. That's right. $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. You can support the broadcast. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky.
When the genocide started, by boarding an Israeli ship, and then they sustained the blockade until the announcement of the most recent so-called ceasefire. At that moment, the Houthis lifted the blockade while the ceasefire was going on, demonstrating that they were doing this as a humanitarian intervention in order to meet what the International Court of Justice has said is the responsibility of all states, and what the General Assembly in its implementing resolution has confirmed is the responsibility of all states to do everything in their power to stop the genocide and the siege that was being imposed on Gaza. You know, some ships avoided the blockade by sailing around Africa, but most of them couldn't. So the major shipping companies stopped sailing to the Red Sea, and the port of Eilat in Israel went bankrupt, which means that this blockade was working. It was denying the Israeli regime many of the goods that it needed to continue the siege and to continue the genocide in Palestine.
The United States, aka the terrorist designators, meanwhile, are the ones doing the terrorism. They are aiding and abetting a genocide with billions of dollars in arms shipments to Israel. The liberal framework of thought is only able to conceptualize actors in conflict as being good and bad. Israel's far-right government is bad, Ethan says, but so are terrorists. Genocide is bad. I don't agree with genocide, of course, but hijacking ships is bad too. It's against the law, which is bad. Everybody should just stop doing bad stuff. Okay, well, Israel's not stopping. They're not stopping the genocide. The US is not stopping its arms shipments so that Israel can continue that genocide. That is the material reality. If you actually want that genocide to stop, you need to do something material to try to stop it. And so far in the world, the only people doing that outside of Gaza militarily are Hezbollah and Ansar Allah. If you spend all your time attacking these groups while sitting on the sidelines, idealistically opining on what forms of resistance are acceptable to you, then you're supporting the genocide. Full stop.
Yup. No, you don't understand. There's a proper way to resist the genocide, and that proper way is doing it only within the neat little confines that I have designed for you. You can't, for example, say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, because that hurts my feelings, because I envision that being a genocidal statement, for example. So you can't do that. Okay? Sorry. You can't say Zionism is fascism, because that also hurts my feelings. You can't say that someone who is behaving in the exact same ways that a Zionist would is maybe potentially a Zionist, because then that hurts my feelings as well. All of that stuff is completely unacceptable. Why can't you protest in the way that I think, me personally, me? Why can't you do the things I want you to do? There's a proper way to do this, and that's my way. And if you don't do it my way, I'm going to fucking cry about it for 15 months in a row. Okay? 15 months.
Stop. There's something to be said here about the basic attack on free speech evident.
Yeah, I guess you can say it's a war of two equal sides. And one side is dominating, but also they're dominating because of their technical and military superiority, and also their moral superiority. And the other side is really barbaric too, so they kind of deserve to be dominated. That's the only way that you can fucking talk about this. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, dude.
In this campaign, they want to deplatform Hassan for interviewing a Yemeni teenager on the grounds that they believe this teenager is a member of Ansar Allah, or the Houthis, a US designated terrorist group, and that Hassan didn't
which it wasn't at the time, by the way. So even if he was, it wouldn't have mattered.
Just interview him, but he promoted him. Glazing is the legal term they use, I believe.
It started with Hassan platforming Houthi terrorists. This kid is a rampant anti-Semite and a violent Houthi terrorist.
But he literally had a terrorist on his stream. This wasn't really an interview. It was like a glorified promotion reel.
Glorifying a terrorist live on stream. This man doesn't...
Dude, I love these guys because they're so fucking stupid. And it literally doesn't matter. Like, they could just be like, this man, I have no opinions on this Israel stuff, but I fucking hate this Hassan guy. Like, it's the same script. They're unironically in the same fucking Twitter text groups alongside fucking Keemstar. It's the same guy, the same ugly pieces of shit.
Does not critically apply any form of journalism.
Hassan did not ask him one critical question.
I did. I asked him if he was a Houthi. He said no. I asked him if he knew that there were anti-Zionist Jews in America. He was shocked by this revelation and then said, and I asked him if he hates Jews. He said no. If you are anti-Israel, I love you. That's what he said. And it's a position that he's actually repeated quite frequently since then. Those are questions. You just don't like those questions because it doesn't go along with the fucking narrative that you want to present, that this guy is like a fucking violent, rabid terrorist who just wants to kill every Jew on the planet. Like, that's it. That's the reason why you're fucking upset.
In fact, the opposite. It was a complete puff piece where he sucked him off, elevated him, was uncritical.
None of this is true. Ethan provided no credible evidence to the claim that Rashid al-Haddad, or Tim Houthi Chalamet, the nickname of the Yemeni teenager, is a member of Ansar Allah. And in their interview, Hasan asked multiple questions that were critical of Rashid.
I don't know if he can answer this or not, but as far as the Ansar Allah militancy goes, like as far as the standing military goes, like I don't know if he is allowed to speak on this. I don't know if he's like actually a part of the groups at all, or just like simply a TikToker. You know what I mean? I don't know how to ask that in the best way possible, though.
طيب يعني بقول لك يعني أنا يمني يعني كيمني يعني أنا واقف إلى جانب فلسطين.
His answer is a Yemeni who stands with Palestine.
In America, some of the like leading groups that are pro-Palestine are led by Jewish people who are anti-Israel. How does he feel about that?
والله يعني صراحة أي واحد يدعم فلسطين إحنا معه.
He's saying anyone that supports Palestine, we're with.
Hell yeah.
But even if that hadn't happened, and even if he were a member of the Houthis, calling for deplatforming on those grounds is a basic violation of free speech.
It quite literally is just like, it's so fucking stupid. It's so fucking stupid because like I have also maintained the position that if given the opportunity where I could talk to someone from the Ansar Allah administration, I would fucking do it. Like I would absolutely do it. I don't give a fuck. What do you mean? Oh my God, you're talking to a terrorist. Like, yeah, suck my dick. Okay. Like it's so stupid. So like, I don't think people understand my position on this. I don't think people understand my position on this because it's not something that I am ashamed of. Like they'll try to do a gotcha. They'll be like, he thought he was a Houthi and now he got God, so now he's lying about him not being a Houthi. Yes, I thought he was a Houthi in the beginning. I did. When I interviewed him, I thought he was, which is why I asked him that question, right? But regardless of the fact that he is not, even if he was, I fucking 100% would have still interviewed him. Even if he was a Houthi, even if he was a Houthi militant, of course I would have fucking interviewed him. What are you talking about? Hey.
It was very frustrating to see that because like there is journalistic value to interviewing every single person. People have interviewed Osama bin Laden. I was trying to make him comfortable in that conversation because I didn't.
Yeah, these are the same people like Mudahar fucking was against deplatforming Andrew Tate, wasn't he? Someone in the chat said that. So many podcasts are the biggest terrorists in the world on to do puff pieces to help with this election last year, but no one's talking about that. Yeah, but you don't understand. That's Donald Trump. He's the president. No one thinks that the American president is a terrorist because they live in America, obviously.
Know if he was a Houthi or not. I thought he might be, right? So I wanted to make him as comfortable as possible. And then, yes, the conversation trajectory probably would have changed a little bit if he had said he was a Houthi. He said he was not. And I was inclined to believe him. There's no reason for me not to. But even in that process, I still asked him about like his thoughts on Jewish people, anti-Semitism, and the like.
Remind that Mudahar was against deplatforming Andrew Tate, but now he's pro deplatforming you. I don't know if he's like fully... He's going to say I'm defaming him. I don't know if he's like pro deplatforming me, to be fair. So I don't know, but it doesn't fucking matter.
Like they wanted to deplatform Hasan for watching an Ansar Allah music video.
But
on
this
his
part is
stream.
correct. They did literally say like, actually, you know what? He did. He implied that I should be deplatforming because I'm a fucking radical pro-terrorist person. So I guess that is true. They all did.
Claim that this
video's a bop. They're lying. Bring back the bops. I can't. And the only reason why I can't is because Twitch absolutely would fucking clap me. They would never clap me for watching like an Israeli video of this exact same sort. They would never clap me for watching an American video of this exact same sort. And I can keep watching videos like this on YouTube if I want to. That's not an issue either. Or on Twitter if I want to. That's not an issue either. It's just... Twitch has a way more rigid application of its terms of service than anybody else. Yeah, I can't stop you from enjoying the music video by yourself if you choose to do so. This one in particular is directly about the Yemeni population's resilience against the American-backed Saudi genocide, by the way. Back when fucking woke libtards actually cared about that sort of thing because they thought Donald Trump was doing it. They quickly forgot about that when Joe Biden directly started bombing Yemen, But, you know, back then they were like, oh my God, why are we giving Saudi Arabia weapons? If you remember, you know? Crazy how regulations lead to credibility, by the way. I mean, yeah, when a platform moves in this direction, yes, it does offer cynical smears some semblance of credibility.
Terrorist promotion, watching unfettered
you hear
terrorist
catering?
propaganda,
No, you hear my
as they
mom
claimed.
in the
But the question
background
here is, what
moving shit around. There's not catering, dummy.
level of denunciation and condemnation would be required during Hasan's viewing of that video in order for it to clear the bar of a valid viewing of a piece of political media. The mere existence on the screen of a video from the Houthis is enough to trigger that post-9/11 war on terror response in the American viewer, to the point that they're willing to just call for his banning for making such violent and evil threats like Yemeni people are a musical people, or these songs function as an act of resistance against the US-backed Saudi genocide.
Instead of terrorist.
Yeah, no, that's the most violent thing I could have ever done. That's the other thing. Like, I'm not embarrassed by these things. Like, I hate that these guys have like concocted in their fucking minds that like this is somehow embarrassing. You know what I mean? This is something that I should be scared about. And it's something that I'm like refusing to reckon with or whatever. And it's incredibly fucking stupid because I'm not embarrassed by any of this shit. I stand on it. I still make the same exact statements I did back then, even though many of it was clipped out of context. Like, my positions on this shit have not changed even a little bit. It's so fucking annoying. But it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter because it doesn't matter because these guys have invented their own version of events, their own version of reality, where they just exist in this fucking totally separate playing field where they just don't understand. They're like, oh, well, he actually is like sneakily embarrassed about the fact that he interviewed Tim Houthi Chalamet. He thought he was a Houthi, but then now he lies about it. It's like, no, I've explained it a million times over. And I'm sure it gets really fucking boring after a while because like a lot of people just want black and white shit. They don't want any nuances. Your opinions literally have changed though. Stop lying. Okay, I know what you're going to say next. You're going to say you used to do gaming or you used to do fucking top of the hour ad breaks or something like that. Don't fucking start trying to bait me in the middle of this, okay? Yeah, there you go. Okay, fucking there. Classic. I know everything about you. I know your next move before you do it, okay? This is a parasocialist experience that goes in either direction. It's not just on one direction. I watch your every move closely and carefully. Make no mistake. I know you better than you know yourself. I know you better than your closest loved ones know you. I know your deep, dark secrets.
Propaganda, let's call it musicals.
They do musicals.
Instead of violent jihadists, let's call them
violent jihad. They're doing violent jihad.
musically talented people.
They're very musical people.
It is precisely this line of argument that the US government and the Trump administration have taken when it comes to the illegal kidnapping and detention of Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil. He is not charged with a crime, he is being silenced for his speech, on the grounds that it constitutes terrorist promotion. As this sort of terrorism is a threat to US national security, according to the US, this is grounds for detention. The terrorism in question here is, of course, advocating against a genocide. Whether it's the US-backed genocide of Palestinians in Gaza or the US-backed genocide of the people of Yemen through its crippling blockade that has resulted in the starvation of hundreds of thousands of people, or its indiscriminate bombing campaign that has killed tens of thousands more. In both of these places, the justification is fighting terrorism. When the US-backed Saudi coalition blows up a school bus full of school children, the justification they use is that they were targeting the Houthis.
It was an attack which drew international condemnation and left the parents of 40 children crying over their graves. Initially, the Saudi-led coalition claimed the attack.
Yeah, by the way, that was an American bomb and an American targeting system that actually did that bombing. The there are images. There are images of like fucking charred, burned, like school children's lunch boxes, like bags and shit. It's fucking
Attack
disgusting.
was a justified military operation. It was targeting Houthi leaders. Now it says it made mistakes.
When Israel blows up a hospital, lighting medical tents on fire and burning Palestinians alive, the justification they're using is fighting terrorism. It's all part of this same system, and whether on the ground in Gaza or on the airwaves of media coverage of it, the premise itself of terrorism needs to be challenged, which is why
But that fear is actually at the core of the issue. The sex pestilence crowd is built on social taboo, and the entire community is built on finding acceptable opinions. They think what you did is socially unacceptable because they're mostly racist. The fact that what you did is taboo is logic enough for them, I guess, but they also violate taboo in incredibly racist ways all the time and actually masquerade that as like a virtue rather than a vice. They love advocating for insane shit that makes them look horrifying to normal people, like advocating for the morality of incest, or finding new debate tactics to talk about ethical forms of child pornography, or a white man's right to say the N-word. These are some of the things that they love arguing on behalf of on the wrong side. You know, the arbitrary nature of age of consent. These are the types of things that they fucking advocate for. So I would say that they love violating taboos of that sort. I don't know if that's entirely accurate.
when you release a video for 3 million people attacking resistance to genocide as terrorism,
terrorist groups, terrorist propaganda, terrorism, terrorist organization,
you're sort of doing that same thing. The last point for today's video I want to bring up is the concept of deflecting criticism. Ethan implies that my decision to criticize him or character assassinate and horrifically lie about him, as he put it, is tied to Hasan being my idol, and my idol being criticized compelled me to defend him, seemingly against logic or reason or something like that. This was an accusation shared by many of the viewers of my video. Hasan Glazer detected, opinion rejected. Now what's interesting is that this response simply reinforces my point about the Hasan bad online media ecosystem. To these people, responding to my arguments on their own merit is unnecessary because they can simply write me off as de facto wrong because...
Yep. That is the incredibly important role that years and years of Hassan derangement syndrome has played. If you can't fucking argue against the things that I'm saying, well, then you can just disparage the messenger. And if you disparage the messenger long enough, then fucking even dumb normies who don't want to think about these sorts of things will get on board with it. Perhaps they've actually encountered my commentary at one point or another, and that's made them feel bad. You know what I mean? That's made them like question everything that they know. And in that process, they had this like violent reaction to it. And then they desperately sought out anyone and everyone that would say, fuck this guy. This guy's bad. Why is he bad? Not because of the arguments that he's presenting, but actually he's bad because I've decided he's a hypocrite. Is he a hypocrite because of his own established moral boundaries? No, he's a hypocrite because I have established a false moral boundary for him, and now I believe he's violating it. Is he actually violating the false established boundary that I've given him? No, but I'm lying about it, and you should believe me because he's bad. And enough people say that, and enough people just recycle that same fucking garbage, then yeah, some people are going to get on with it. That's why so many people will turn around and be like, yeah, he's kind of a controversial guy, right? Like some normies that are at least online enough to know who the fuck I am might have this attitude. A lot of the phase boys and their fan bases initially were like, I thought this guy was a real piece of shit. Seems like he's a totally fucking chill dude. I don't know why the fuck everyone calls him a piece of shit at all. The reason why is because people have dedicated a good deal of their time and effort into making others feel that way. That's it. But the secondary notion of that, the perhaps unintentional notion of that, is that now you don't have to actually entertain the arguments whatsoever. You can just simply go, you're fucking bad. You're a bad guy. I know it.
I am defending Hasan, who is de facto wrong because Hasan bad. It is not the actual political issue I am defending him on that they're able to challenge, the issue of course being opposing Israel's genocide in Gaza and informing viewers about the resistance to that genocide without screaming, "I condemn terrorism" into the microphone for every second of that coverage. No, it's not that. It is the mere fact that Hasan is on the screen while I make these points that seems to trigger this response. The response of completely ignoring the valid connections between.
I think one of the funniest parts about this is that, like, if they were to approach the subject matter with even a fraction of charitability, okay? If they were to approach subject matter with a little bit of charitability, they would just be like, okay, I don't know why people think he's an asshole. That's why I always tell people, like, just come in and watch me, okay? Just come in and make up your own mind. Even if you come in with a negative attitude, even if you come in here with the idea that you're going to confirm your biases, I promise you, you're going to very quickly realize that maybe you were duped. Maybe you were lied to. That is perhaps the biggest reason why, regardless of the endless sea of fucking attacks, this community keeps growing every single fucking day. And all my haters are like, I don't understand why it keeps growing. I guess it's because he's really good at lying. Or maybe it's because the things that they're telling about me are just so objectively untrue that when people do come in to confirm that suspicion, they go, okay, yeah, this guy isn't the piece of shit that I thought he was. That's it. The replies to the interaction, the 5-star Twitter comment is a perfect example of what you described. Yeah, fucking he's a Nazi. Why does everyone hate this guy? I only see him when he streams with Jason. He low-key seems kind of chill. He's a Nazi. Hope this helps. Any proof? I don't even know who the son is, but why does everybody hate him? Any proof? Tier 3 sub for sure. So you call me a dick rider because I won't prove of him being a Nazi? Yeah, that's the issue. Like, that's the issue. It's like, no, I'm pointing out the obvious. You know who he is. Bust a cap. R word. Bro has a sports PFP. This is it. He said, hope this helps. That's so funny. Read the bio. Conservative Christian, probably funded by AIPAC, Big Pharma, Military Industrial Complex, Rupert Murdoch, and Coca-Cola. Ethnically Pastafarian, Italian. Jesus Christ, dude. So good. Let's finish the fucking video.
Hasan's arguments and my own, it's cowardly but expected and only serves to strengthen my resolve in the notion that these people are not serious in their politics and therefore should not be taken seriously. The other major example of this sort of deflection is in regards to my citation of the YouTuber Bad Empanada. I can't tell you how many comments I received from people that decided to throw out all of the points made in my hour-long video in their entirety because at the start of it,
I remember someone tried to accuse you of approving rape. I tried to find any evidence, and of course, they couldn't produce anything. While the comment had like 14K likes. Yeah, I know. It's the fucking clip chimp off of the pro-rape college that rich people choose to send their children to. I was responding to that. It's crazy. It's crazy that a right-wing, me reacting to a fucking right-wing college that is like above Title IX restrictions, that is a pro-rape university, like a right-wing Christian pro-rape university, where I said, hey, at least like you contain the rapists who are self-selecting to go to this fucking pro-rape university. Like at least they're not out there raping fucking random people in the wild. And people literally still to this fucking day go, Hasan wants rich women to be raped. It's like, I never said that. You just made that up. Pro-rape college, yes. Liberty University does not want to get, or at the time didn't get public funding, specifically so that they did not have any Title IX restrictions, so they didn't have to investigate matters of rape, as in a pro-rape college. It's not even a pancake waffle tweet. It's like, it's literally, I'm talking about pancakes. You're talking about, I don't know, you're talking about empanadas. It's a different, entirely different thing. That's what it is. to this day, they still fucking talk about this. And it's funny because it's in my video. Like, it's in the video. It's in the video that Hasanabi Productions posted. It's in my video as well. Let's continue.
I cited Bad Empanada's prior responses. None of these comments, and I mean not a single one out of the seemingly thousands of them, took the time to respond to, let alone debunk Bad Empanada's points about Ethan's video. So far, I haven't seen anyone do that or even try. Regardless of how you feel about Bad Empanada or what you think of his posts online, the facts are the facts. If you can't dispute them, then just say that and move on. Embrace your ignorance and your blind fandom, because at least then you're not being a coward. You're just saying, yeah, I'm dumb. I'm a dumb idiot baby. I don't like Bad Empanada because he's mean to my favorite streamer. Okay, that's fine. That's the truth. There's a claim going around that Hasan being pro-Palestine does not make him immune from criticism.
One of the most cynical methods Hasan deploys to sidestep any criticism is to deflect to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. I've seen him do this so many times. He frames it like you are selfish for trying to criticize him, no matter what the reason is, because there's a genocide happening, man. How can you criticize me at a time like this?
In one way, this is true. Like, let's say Hasan walked up to you and stepped on your foot and you said, hey man, don't do that, ow. And he responded by saying, you're going to criticize me while there's an active genocide going on right now? Seriously? That would be an example of an invalid deflection from criticism. However, when the criticism in question is related to Hasan's support of Palestinians and advocacy against their genocide, and the criticism is coming from people who do not support that cause, then yes, it makes him immune. He doesn't have to take...
Yes, thank you. The entire point of why I say, what the fuck are you talking about? There's a literal genocide going on is not because I'm infallible to criticism, okay? It's because your criticism is not real criticism. Your criticism is just fucking smearing anti-genocide advocates as though they're fucking anti-Semitic. That's it. And my point is, if you claim to be anti-genocide, if you claim to be pro-Palestinian, then how the fuck do you spend all your time shitting on the fucking loudest pro-Palestinian voices out there? You're using the genocide as a backdrop to enforce your own fucking narcissistic, selfish campaign because you can't comprehend how your progressive fan base turned on you because you're pro-Israel. Oh man, it's anybody but me. It's a literal zero accountability situation for a fucking 40-year-old man with 3 children. Holy fuck. Surrounded by people who, if he was a little bit more open-minded, would correct him and have tried to correct him. And yet he just does not listen. He's just like, I don't care. I only want to hear people agreeing with me. You hurt my feelings by trying to course correct, by trying to help me initially. And I'm never going to do introspection, and I'm just mad. I'm mad. This man is willing to burn his entire fucking media empire to the goddamn ground and his fucking fashion franchise to the goddamn ground specifically so he can get one off. So he can just be like, no, I was right in the end and you were wrong. Even if tomorrow I went away, even if tomorrow I no longer had a platform or I fucking died or something, anything, right? Like I said, all right, I'm done. I'm not fucking streaming anymore. Your advocacy is not going to change. You're not going to magically be seen as a pro-Palestine guy, okay? It's not going to change the reality, and it's certainly not going to change the reality on the ground for the fucking Palestinians that are being slaughtered mercilessly by the state that you're defending. Oh, fuck. The genocide card was always insane to me. Like, it rung to me like a leftover saying you're pulling the race card to minorities in the right-wing pass. Yeah, no, literally. It's just like in the conversation of pro-Palestinian sentiment, they keep saying, oh, you're pulling the fucking genocide card. No, you are pulling the fucking genocide card by belittling the term, by saying the only... Look, my point was kind of not dissimilar to what Shonda Black said. If you're mentioning of Israel's genocide, compilations on its own are shorter than you using the genocide card, then you're not fucking anti-genocide. You're pro-genocide. If your advocacy on Israel-Palestine heavily is just shitting on fucking pro-Palestinian content creators rather than shitting on the apartheid genocidal state that is murdering Palestinian civilians at a rapid clip, then you're not fucking pro-Palestinian. I feel like I'm losing my mind. It's crazy.
That criticism seriously because it's coming in bad faith from people who are not allies to his cause. If criticism is coming from parties who have no stake in or solidarity with the mission of Palestinian liberation, these criticisms are irrelevant. They are beneath consideration. The people who levy these criticisms do not talk about politics until it's time to make a Hasan bad video. This is the case with all of the slop tubers who shared the smear campaign. Ethan here might argue.
The only people that are politically knowledgeable that make videos that actually pertain to the arguments that I present are unironically right-wingers. That's not an accident. It's because they understand that I am ideologically their enemy. I have no issue with them being ideologically my enemy. Okay? My ideological enemies are my enemies, and that's good. You know, they present a line of demarcation between myself and them. I'm fine with them being my ideological enemies. These fucking assholes, on the other hand, are literally presenting themselves and masquerading themselves as though they're liberals, as though they're pro-Palestinian. And that shit pisses me off. Because they're not. It's a coward's way of presenting a pro-Israel argument by attacking one of the largest fucking pro-Palestinian voices. Without ever even like presenting an alternative. The only alternative that Ethan has ever presented is Boner Box, who fucking isn't even pro-Palestine. Like, what the fuck are we doing? He's a liberal Zionist.
Argue that he does have a stake in the pro-Palestine movement, as he has referred to himself as a stalwart ally to this cause.
I've been a stalwart supporter of the Palestine.
Like, the dude he's presenting as a pro-Palestinian voice went to Israel alongside Sex Pestany and Elon Levy, dude. Like the former fucking propaganda minister of Israel. What are we doing? He's like the foreign minister. And he got fired from his job because... It's crazy.
Palestinian cause for many years.
This raises some questions, to my mind, namely, how? What did he do to be able to bestow upon himself the label of stalwart ally? Calling yourself an ally is already, what are you doing? But in this case, especially, what are you doing? What did you do? What did he do? He donated to a fundraiser. Okay, but what if I...
Whose fundraiser? Noah, whose fundraiser was it? Some asshole reported my username as harassment Hasan's poop sock. Wait, what? Hold on. No way. That's fucked up. God, we are surrounded by enemies, dude. We are surrounded by enemies, friends. I apologize. Hasan's poop sock. I'm sorry that happened to you. That's messed up. Did you report that name as harassment? No, dude. What the fuck? Why would I ever do that? Also, how would I have done that? I've been streaming this whole time.
If I told you that this donation was a one-time donation of what is likely less than 1% of his yearly income to a fundraiser that Hasan ran, and that this was followed by total silence on Gaza over the course of the genocide until it was time to attack Hasan with smears that originate from genocidal Zionists. And then in order to justify these actions, he would hold that donation of what is likely 1% of his yearly income over people's heads.
I've donated $6,500 to a Palestinian charity after the war started.
Hey, Ethan Klein, thank you for the dono. Ethan Klein gave $6,500. My goat.
And when I say silence, I do mean that. A search through every episode of the H3 podcast, which is Ethan's most significant form of content creation in the span between October 7th of 2023 and the release date of his content nuke, you can count the number of times Gaza is mentioned on one hand. Most of the time, it's not even brought up by Ethan. It's brought up by his producers, and then when they bring it up, barely a breath is spent on the topic. I'm not interested in handing out or revoking allyship badges, but I do think if someone is using that label on themselves while actively working against the cause, this needs to be exposed and understood so that we can stop including them in the conversation. I realize that for those of you who are already aware of how he's doing this, I'm just doing that now by talking about him, and you're welcome to criticize me for that. That's who I'm willing to listen to criticism from, people that actually care about this issue. But I do think there are a good amount of people, in his audience especially, that just can't really see what he's doing. People who might otherwise be allies to the cause are being misdirected into liberal Zionism. And I do think that's worth exploring, at least for a certain amount of time. Now, while all of this vitally important influencer discourse was going on, somewhere else in the world, there were other developments. On March 17th, Israel carpet-bombed sleeping Palestinians in Gaza at 2 a.m. in one of the most bloody massacres since the genocidal onslaught began 17 months ago. Over 400 Palestinians are confirmed to have been killed by this act of Israeli terrorism, and over 1,000 more injured. They killed more children in a single day than in any day in Israel's history. This came after 17 straight days of a complete siege on any humanitarian aid from entering Gaza. They had already been breaking the ceasefire repeatedly over 1,000 times, something which the US media continually whitewashed, but this attack was Israel's formal unilateral destruction of the ceasefire, slaughtering hundreds of starving children in their sleep. This record-breaking child-killing event was celebrated in Israeli Telegram channels with hundreds of thousands of members. In response to a video of a Palestinian girl mourning her mother that was slain by Israel, the Israelis wrote, "Cry, you whore, 1,000 whores. Cry as long as you can until we get to you too and eliminate you together with your ugly girl." To a video of a child in Gaza collecting his parents' remains, someone replied, "A young piglet vigorously collects hot and fresh litter to break the fast." The very next day after this massacre, Israel blew up a cancer hospital, the Turkish Friendship Hospital, the only hospital in Gaza specializing in treating cancer patients. They just blew the entire building up. It's rubble now. The IDF said that the hospital was a Hamas compound, but it was actually an IDF compound. They raided it at the start of the genocide, kicked everyone out, and have been using it as a military base for the past 16 months. If we're gonna make this about good and bad, generally speaking, the people blowing up cancer hospitals are not the good guys. So if this is what's gone on in the first 3 days of Israel's full breaking of the ceasefire, why am I, instead of talking about that, talking about what some idiot Zionist influencer thinks? And there's a few reasons, but first, look, the last time I framed a video about Gaza around a YouTube drama, it got over 700,000 views. That's 700,000 people that came in expecting me to talk shit about a YouTuber and left with a video that was mostly about Gaza. But when I released a video the following week with an explicitly political topic, media coverage of Israel's ceasefire violations, it barely broke 100,000 views. My perspective...
Yeah, he's farming. He's actively using drama as a way to drive home how, in this video, liberal Zionism manifests and how liberal Zionists oftentimes will propagandize through drama slop bait. Many of those people don't even have a real association with Israel or care about it. Like, I don't think... What's that dude? The one of the Destiny Orbiters who's like another one of those like, ooh, so edgy content creators, Turkey Tom. Like, I don't think Mudahar himself has like opinions on Israel-Palestine that are like Willie Mack, Turkey Tom. Like, I don't think those guys give a fuck about Israel. Okay. They just care about clout. I don't think Mudahar actually is pro-Israel. He most likely is just agnostic on the genocide itself. He's probably like, oh, it's really fucked up that it's happening. Right. But many of them, like almost all of them, obviously demonstrate their disinterest by covering this issue, not on political terms, not by addressing any fucking points of view, but by simply trying to disparage what I'm doing by, farming fucking Hasan hater bait. It's disgusting. They're turning a real fucking genocide that's happening into drama slop. It is evil. At least Michael Rappaport has a well-established fucking point of view. You know what I mean? Yeah, Michael Rappaport fucking hates Muslims, okay? He hates Arabs. He loves Israel. He's not shy about it, right? But a lot of these guys, they don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about anything. They just care about clout. And for them, they can maintain this like edgy nihilistic brand by simply taking a position that's like, yeah, fuck Hasan. Turkey Tom makes a quarterly fuck Hasan video for the last 4 or 5 years. Of course, he doesn't care about Palestine. He's just jumping at the opportunity and a new talking point. I know. And one of the more annoying aspects of this is that these fucking dumbass chuds do have like apolitical fan bases who also want to sound smart. So they just like listen to that and go, yeah, fuck this guy. You're right. That's it. And they never think about it again. I don't even fault them for that. To be fair, you got busy days. You know what I mean? You got busy days. You can't be making up your mind by actually, going to the subject source material and making up your own mind on whether or not this person is good or this person is bad. Tom has gone dark after being credibly accused of plagiarism from other Kiwi Farm YouTube drama slop people. So odd. Yeah, they all source that shit. They all use Reddit mostly, or Kiwi Farms, which is like a watered down version of the Kiwi Farm stuff from different subreddits, oftentimes from Destiny's subreddit, to make their videos. But why wouldn't you? It's the easiest fucking way. It's the easiest way to make money. You make like $15,000 a pop for literally like 3, 4, maximum 5 hours of work. You know? It's that simple. And if you don't care about the subject matter at all, if you don't care about the politics of it at all, then it's great. You know, just cook. New H-bomb video incoming. Wait, really? About what? I'm surprised Sunny V2 hasn't hopped on this bandwagon. Yeah, I don't know why Sunny V2 hasn't done a downfall of Hasan video. Perhaps it's because the downfall is still on pause. It will happen eventually, and then he'll make it. I don't know.
Right now is that over everything else, we need reach. We need people to know about what Israel is doing, people that don't already know, or at least aren't seeing updates on Israel's genocide, which is a lot of people. The media is not covering it. They weren't covering it a lot before, but over the past 17 months, that coverage has dwindled down to almost nothing. And as we've seen, the majority of it is just straight up manufacturing consent. This includes that record-breaking child-killing massacre from Israel. How many of you heard about that, described in those terms, the terms
Watching you fall off from 30K to 40K has been rough. I know. It's been really fucked up, dude. I've been suffering quite a bit.
Of what actually happened, and not just another new, quote, Israeli Gaza offensive with some catastrophic record-breaking death toll that doesn't even make it into the headline. The best way, I think, to get more people to know about this stuff is by using the algorithm for what it's meant to be used, which is views. And in this case, what that looks like is farming drama. I could be wrong about this approach, and if you think there's better ways to go about this, then feel free to let me know in the comments. I've been thinking about lately doing something like scaling up and running the channel as a platform, but a non-profit, so that I can just cover more things more consistently and not have to choose between, you know, a US-backed child massacre and Ethan Klein. But until then, it's going to be a bit of a mixed bag. Regardless, it doesn't matter what you think of these creators. It's not about them. It's not about anyone being good or bad, or what your YouTube subscription feed says about your morals. It's about a genocide that's happening right now, that's unfolding in front of our eyes, and that most of our countries are actively supporting. If these creators are giving people rhetoric to support the genocide that's happening, then we need to talk about that. That's something we need to discuss, especially if that person is claiming to be an ally to the cause. And if other creators are fighting against it, then that's worth talking about too. If they're providing historical analysis and breaking down propaganda that's being used for the genocide, or giving an honest voice to its resistance, then that content is important and should be shared and supported regardless of how you feel about the individuals involved. Unfortunately, we're sort of stuck in a media ecosystem that cares far more about influencer drama than it does about Palestinian lives. Part of the effort here is an attempt to steer that media ecosystem ecosystem and the consumers existing inside of it towards being more aware of their plight, towards caring about it, and hopefully doing something to try and stop it. So anyways, yes, I will keep using influencer drama to grab your heads and slam them against the screen to show you what Israel is doing. And if you don't like that, tell your favorite influencers to stop using their massive platforms to back a genocide. Tell them to stop spreading genocidal propaganda, lying about the resistance to it, and silencing and deplatforming advocates against the genocide. Do that, and then I'll leave you all to your slop. It's very simple. Okay, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. I've linked some fundraisers below. Support them.
Also here, I tweeted this just now because I saw this. Apparently, Ethan lied about why he left Twitter. Hasan is such a chicken shit R word that he blocked me. Meanwhile, Hasan spends all day on Elon's app. Meanwhile, great people, me, dude, I can't tell if he's like trying to make a joke about himself or if he's just being sincere. I don't want to be the guy who's like, you know, in the most neurodivergent fashion, not understanding when he's like trying to crack a joke. But like, it can't be, there's no way that he's just being serious, right? Like he's joking, I think. I'm a great person. No, dog, you didn't fucking leave Twitter because Elon Musk sig-heiled. You've been sig-heiling ever since Elon Musk sig-heiled. You and Elon are also directly aligned on this issue, the issue of Israel, the issue of deplatforming me, all of that stuff you agree with. Just another example of Hasan being unwilling to make any material sacrifice for his cause. Yeah. So, Psychedelic Socialist post, Ethan Klein didn't leave Twitter to protest Elon Musk. He left the app because he exposed himself as the racist Zionist that he is and got rightfully bullied off the platform. He's also completely aligned with Elon Musk on Israel and Hassan. Elon literally loves his content nuke. To which I responded, I reposted this and said, Ethan left this platform because he's terrified of people correcting him. That's why he won't have any of the countless content creators who smears anti-Semites on his stream. He's worried his audience will learn the truth, that he's lying about everyone from his hug box. The full conversation is worse. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah. I'm the freaking ghoul. Here you are still refusing to criticize Hamas. I haven't killed any children or families or burned anyone alive lately. Well, who is the freak and the ghoul? Why do you have harsher words for me than Hamas? Was it hard to type that bullshit with one hand jerking off to the thought of queer Muslims being murdered? Bro, what the fuck? I'm fully in your corner. What was wrong about it? What was I wrong about? This is the revolution you're supporting, right? Just don't ever go anywhere near Hamas because your life would be 100% in danger. Am I wrong, genuinely? Yes. Yes, you are wrong. And also now he's doing the Free Palestine from Hamas. The only time Ethan Klein says something like, may God protect these brave Gazans when they're demonstrating against Hamas. May God protect these brave. Only these guys, though. Don't worry. Israel will blow them up, too. Okay? Palestinians demonstrated against Hamas in northern Gaza on Tuesday in what appeared to be the largest protest against the militant group since attacks on Israel on October 7th. Video obtained by CNN showed large crowds, estimated to be 1,000 people by a CNN journalist on the ground, marching through the streets of Beit Lahia in northern Gaza, chanting, for God's sake, Hamas out, Hamas terrorists, and we want an end to the war. A message shared on social media appeared to call for 9 anti-Hamas demonstrations across Gaza on Wednesday with the protest organizers. Yeah. Yeah, he says Gaza instead of Palestinians on purpose. I mean, no, I don't think he's thinking about it that deeply. Yeah. May God protect these good Palestinians, the good ones. I haven't seen the footage, but I suspect. Not gonna lie, I don't really see what's wrong with him saying this. No, it's what he doesn't say, chatter. Do you not understand? The only time he cares about Palestinians is when they're fucking saying free Palestine from Hamas. Hello? The fuck? Like the good ones. Yeah, I haven't seen this, and I haven't seen anybody write about it. We can take a look at it, but you know, it's understandable. Protests erupted across Gaza, including in Beit Lahia, Jabalia, and Khan Yunis, as Palestinians voiced their growing despair and rage towards Israel's continued indiscriminate tactics. The Israeli killing machine, a spokesman for Central Gaza Relief Group, who spoke to Drop Site News, explained. The demonstration is focused on demands to end the Israel's genocide in Gaza and the immediate lifting of Israel's 3-week blockade. Protesters call for urgent action to stop the mass killing of civilians, the destruction of homes, schools, and hospitals. Chants such as "Stop the War" and "We Want to Live" filled the streets. Some protesters denounced Hamas and chanted against the group's rule in the Gaza Strip, where it has been the official governing authority since the 2005 elections. Call for Hamas to step down were heard through the group, though the group is already committed to doing so if Israeli forces withdraw as required under the previously agreed ceasefire deal and national unity government is formed. A statement from elders and muhtars of Beit Lahia. Muhtars are like mayors, like smaller than a mayor, I guess. A northern Gaza town where protests were particularly strong, echoed the widespread demand for an end to Israel's aggression. They reaffirmed their unwavering support for the Palestinian resistance while rejecting any political exploitation of the protests. We affirm that these demands for basic rights, freedom for genocide, access. They clip chimped the protest. That's crazy. One Gazan, more neutral signs that oppose the continuation of the war. In rare protest, Gazans voiced frustration with Hamas. Videos verified by the New York Times show groups of Gaza in the half-ruined streets of northern town of Beit Lahia. Some carried more neutral signs that oppose the continuation of the war, while others chanted slogans calling for Hamas to get out. This was not a random development, but orchestrated online by the Fatah Security Media Unit with the Palestinian Intelligence Service in Ramallah, a unit that has been inciting against the resistance and its liberation efforts since the beginning of the aggression. Oh... Look at the subheading. Wait, hold on. What is it? Oh. One Gazan who attended the rallies of the protesters wanted Hamas to end the war. By the way, for the record, I'm sure there's plenty of people who don't like fucking Hamas. There are plenty of people in Gaza that don't like Hamas, okay? It's not just one person, for the record. Ironically enough, Ethan said, "May God protect these brave Gazans," because he thinks that they were all, this was an anti-Hamas protest, when it seems like it was a little bit more complicated than that. It was more so an anti-occupation protest, which is understandable. Having said that, CNN wasn't able to verify the original source of this video. This is the source that Ethan is quoting. God protect that one Palestinian and one Palestinian only. Yeah. Look, I talked to people in Gaza. I talked to Palestinians. The attitude is that the number one evil, understandably, in the region is always and forever Israel. Of course it is. And that they are seemingly stuck in a bind in this circumstance where it doesn't matter what the domestic affairs of Hamas looks like, because ultimately that is the only game in town that is resisting with militancy against the Israeli occupation. This is precisely the reason why the support for Hamas as a political faction has grown both in the West Bank and even in Gaza throughout time. We affirm that these demands for basic rights, freedom and genocide, freedom from genocide, access to humanitarian aid, and protection of our people are not luxuries, the statement read. Beit Lahia will always stand with our broader Palestinian struggle and will not allow our people's legitimate demands to be manipulated. The statement also rejected any attempts to undermine national unity, stressing the need for collective resistance against Israel's brutal actions, which are backed by the U.S. administration. Their full statement and some footage from the protests are shared below. Video 1. A protester speaks into the microphone. "We want life, the least a human being can hope for." A child holds a sign reading, "We want to live in peace and security." At the end, another man is heard saying, "Hamas, enough is enough." An elderly protester explains, "We refuse to be ruled with an iron fist. We reject wars. We will decide who governs us. We demand that everyone stand against any external agendas manipulating our nation's fate. We've endured harsh conditions. We want peace. This is our message. This is our demand. We want peace, enough war, enough destruction. We want to live." Anyone for the record that attributes Israel's actions to the militant resistance is wrong. I don't care if they're Palestinian. I don't care if they're Israeli. I don't care if they're American. I don't care if they're Chinese. Okay? There is an objective way to look at the situation. And the objective way to look at the situation is that it is entirely in the hands of Israel. Israel is the apartheid state. Israel is the genocidal state in this circumstance. And if Israel were to remove this occupation, allow Palestinians to live free, they would have the choice for a democracy to vote for whoever they see fit. That is a future that I envision. Okay? There is no additional loyalty that I have specifically to Hamas or any sort of militant group at whatsoever. I want Palestinians to be able to have self-determination. I want Palestinians to be able to have autonomy. That's it. Their propaganda campaign follows a singular strategy, blaming the resistance for the occupation's crimes. They do this by spreading false narratives, such as refusing to surrender will cause more bloodshed, relinquishing power will preserve Palestinian existence, continuing resistance is not steadfastness, but rather a lack of options. Fatah tried to infiltrate the Palestinian political debate by slogans like, I am not against resistance, I am against Hamas. But eventually they show their true colors. One of their chants on protest was Hamas is terrorist, which mirrors the occupation's narrative. It's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting because the tens of thousands of people pouring in the fucking streets of Israel being like, we're done with this shit, is not enough to overthrow the Benjamin Netanyahu administration. But you get like, 10, 20, maybe 1,000 people on board. While an ethnic cleansing campaign is happening. And it's like, well, it's time. I agree. It is time. The time for a ceasefire, permanent cessation of hostilities is now, and a time for autonomy for the Palestinians is the day after that. Fatah will not bring about self-determination, just the opposite, submission to Israel. Well, it's ironic because the West Bank Palestinians love Hamas even more than the Gazan Palestinians do, partially because they have to exist under Hamas leadership in Gaza. And also, the West Bank is operated by the Palestinian Authority. And yet, for some reason, there's no fucking peace there. As I talked about, the library is open today. What do you mean? Yeah, I posted this you tough guy. Why did these guys always post me in a fucking maid outfit? Dude, I'd fuck your mom in that maid outfit. She'd have her first orgasm for the first time in her life, dude. What do you mean? Wait, is this the same guy that always posts my maid outfit? I'm the only Armenian watching you, comrade? You are not the only Armenian watching me. Are you kidding me? I have a big Californian audience. There's a shit ton of Armenians here.